Hey
Hello.
everyone, welcome to the live stream. Are we actually streaming, or is
We're
this
actually. Oh no! Wait, this is frozen. Wait,
I
hold
see
on.
a frozen picture of me
TikTok
from last week.
is streaming, but not you.
There we
you
go,
are.
there we go.
You're actually
And
live.
We're not currently in the QA.
You're not in the QA either. Okay, hold on. Wait, let's do this, and we'll do some beginning music. And welcome to Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. Wait, that's the wrong one. The ticker is different. Okay. Today we're going to be talking about the weather outside is frightful, or soon to be, if you guys know what's going on. The FEMA re-education camps.
Yes.
You heard of that
Oh,
stuff?
they're crazy.
We got a thing, somebody actually just tagged us recently. Raw flour, raw eggs. Is that a raw deal?
Raw
And-
flour?
Yeah, we'll see. And Nauticon 2025.
What the hell is that?
And also TikToks. And if chatters, if you want to give me a top or a phrase that I will include in the email for this week, please post that in the chat. Post it right away. And now the music can stop, and you can discuss just everything. It's a little crass. The weather outside is frightful. I know. Okay, come on.
Yeah, so it wasn't that long ago that we were talking about storm flooding in Oxford in Connecticut.
Yes, my town.
True.
And, talking about the fact that, you can't blame any individual storm on climate change, but you could say that they're more likely to happen. But although it takes a long time for the statistics to become significant, it's just always hard to say, is this a fluke? Is this we're having a bad year? But the thing is, it just keeps happening over and over again. And so many, the
It
fires
builds up.
are increasing, the tornadoes are increasing.
Cat 5, I mean, this storm is bad.
So we've had two now, right? So we have Helene
Yes.
hit North Carolina, and
Milton.
that was I was watching a video of some guy who was saying, 5 years ago I said that this exact place is a good climate refuge.
Yes.
Like if you want to get away from
Yes.
from climate change, this is where you should go. He's like, but I was completely wrong.
Yeah.
No
Well-
place is safe because, you had a flood in the mountains.
Yeah.
Just because it dumped so much water so quickly. So that's pluvial flood, right, Jay? Pluvial?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pluvial. And then the other one is
Pluvial,
non-pluvial.
Non-pluvial.
Yeah.
Non-pluvial.
There's coastal,
April.
And non-coastal.
and there's non-coastal, which
Yes.
is pluvial and fluvial.
Yes.
This was non-coastal, and it was
There's
caused by a lot
Prometheus.
of rain.
And then there's non-Prometheus.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with floods, but yeah, in some context that may be true.
Okay.
So now we have a Cat 5 barreling down
Yep.
on Florida. It's
Steve,
gonna
I read
smack it
something
right there in the
online.
middle.
Oh, it still hurts. There's a part of my brain I think died,
Yeah.
and it's not from worms.
Oh, not
This
yet.
person was saying,
Yeah.
can you believe how fast that storm came out of nowhere and how fast it grew in power? It's got to be controlled by the Democrats.
You're right.
And a part of my brain died when I
Yes.
read that. The amount of
Which part?
energy. So let's just do a little physics lesson here, okay?
Wait, we're gonna get into the amount of energy. That's actually
Son of a
good.
bitch,
I have
okay.
some stuff. You want to?
Let's do the
go,
stuff.
Go talk about it a little bit if you want to hear the energy, and then we'll jump into
But stay on the fringe.
the
You
media.
mean don't dive into.
I'll pull it up as you talk.
Well, the
Go
bottom
ahead.
line is the amount of energy inside of a hurricane. The energy that it has, right? And it's all atmospheric energy. That energy, humans do not have the capability of creating that
That much energy. Yeah.
Especially in
Have you heard of a nuke?
Yeah, but but we know when a nuke goes off. Like
So this is we don't have the nukes to do this. This is this is like we are not the type of civilization that can control powerful hurricanes. Right. That's what are we, a Kardashev 0.7 or something?
Yeah.
We would need to be like a 1.5 or
we're way away from that.
Yes.
way not even anywhere near being able to harness the kind of energies necessary to steer a hurricane or to increase the power of a hurricane.
So from John Morales, like he said this actually in 2019, over my 35 years as a meteorologist, I've received calls and handwritten letters from people proposing this being nuking the storm, like Trump suggested during his term. I gently try to explain to them that according to NASA, which I'll pull up, a hurricane can expend as much energy as 10,000 nuclear bombs during its life cycle, which is futile and obviously dangerous, just nuclear fallout in a storm.
Right.
This is apparently the article from 2006 that NASA published about, they just say it can expend. They didn't show their work in terms of how they got to that number. I'm not sure, but some people kind of backfilled it with like how many joules it is.
But the
So
unspoken thing here, Ian, which
Mm-hmm.
blows my mind, is that a nuclear bomb isn't like blowing up TNT.
Mm-hmm.
A nuclear bomb, like, has radiation. You know what I mean? Like, it has stuff that stays for a very long time. It's not just a one and done. We would never nuke ourselves.
Right.
Oh, wait. I shouldn't say that.
I
shouldn't say that because
don't say that
some
too
people
quick.
would nuke themselves. But, but I don't think that Biden or even Trump would, even though Trump asked for it, I don't think that current people are stupid enough to actually drop a bomb on a freaking hurricane. Because what city are you going to destroy Tampa to get rid of the hurricane?
Or I guess they would say that we did it in the ocean, which is also not a good thing to do.
Because you think that the air cycle, whatever, anyway, so we get a gigantic amount of energy, 6.0 times 10 to the 14th or 5.2 times 10 to the 19th joules per day in terms of an average hurricane.
Yeah.
So really,
it's a fantastic
big one
amount
is
of
a
energy.
crazy amount of energy.
What does power hurricanes are basically two things.
Hot water.
Those two things, heat
Hot
and water. So, and global
Why do they
warming.
need hot water for when babies are born? Why do they do that in the movies?
Oh, in the movies?
Get people to leave the room.
Oh, okay. That really is a hurry up and go away?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
Okay.
You don't need hot water.
You just don't need hot
towels.
water to have a baby.
No.
All right.
I
Good.
mean,
Well,
no,
you're making tea on the
clean
side.
towels or something. But, all right. But
Anyway.
anyway, so the Gulf of Mexico is very warm right now because of global warming. The water itself is warm, and hurricanes pick up power by drawing heat from the water as they're traveling over the water. Then they lose power when they hit land, right?
Yeah.
So they usually build up in strength, and then they dump that energy when they hit land. They also pick up moisture when they're traveling over the water.
Correct.
And there's more. The warmer air means there's more moisture in the air.
And that's where the rain comes from.
So it's more powerful and it drops more rain.
I mean, it's so simple when you think about it.
Yeah.
It's not complicated. The thing that
It's another thing is this is exactly what scientists said was going to happen.
imagine that
You know,
science making correct predictions.
They said this is going to increase the power of hurricanes. It doesn't increase the number of hurricanes.
Yeah.
So some people falsely say we're going to have more hurricanes. Actually, that's not the case. But the hurricanes that we do have will be more powerful because they're going to be fed both more energy from hotter water, and they will be fueled with more water that they will then dump.
More power.
Yeah, and they also do tend to linger more because they have more energy when they hit the land. They
takes
might
more to
linger
peter
over
out.
that
Yeah.
area for a while, dumping more water, and that's where you get the flooding. Because there's just so much water being dumped in an area.
So
at one
in case
time.
anybody doesn't know, Hurricane Milton is on its way towards Florida
Is
right
that where
now.
it is right now, Ian? Is that accurate?
Well, this is live. They're
Tomorrow
saying.
night, I think, is when it's going to really
Right.
hit.
Yeah, when it starts.
It's already they're already feeling the storm
now,
right now.
they said it was a Category 4, but I think it upgraded again to Category 5. Like
Yeah.
it went down and back up.
I saw a cool video.
Pretty explosive.
It shows a guy. This is all digital, but it shows.
I have the video.
You have
I
that
know.
video?
Yes. We're getting to it. Hold on.
180 miles per hour winds,
Right.
I've read.
And so this is John Morales again, and he gets
It's just an incredible,
obviously choked up on
incredible,
this
incredible
situation 'cause
hurricane.
It is pretty.
Can't see
It has dropped.
Hold on.
It has dropped 50 millibars in
That's
10
legit,
hours.
That guy. I mean, to see him react that way.
Yeah, because he knows people are going to die
Yeah,
because of this.
this is
It's
devastating.
it's absolutely
Yeah.
devastating.
The amount of property damage that this storm can do could be It could be $500 billion. It could be a half a
Yeah.
trillion dollars worth
Yeah.
of damage. And I did read that Disney World is going to get hit. Disney World has
Right.
damn near $1 trillion property.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Now they are apparently staying open, but the parks are apparently closed, but the hotels are open, which I think people maybe misinterpreted as they were just like staying open for money or something like that. They're trying to like keep people in the hotels.
well, I wouldn't put it
apparently.
past Disney, to
Yeah, I
do
mean,
a
but I
hurricane
think
money grab.
you
but-
know, yeah. But anyway, let's
I
watch the rest of
apologize.
see
This
what
is
the-
just
what he says.
horrific.
I've never
Maximum
seen-
sustained winds
pause
are
that for a
100 and
second.
Yeah.
You know, I've been around quite a number of years now. I've never seen a hurricane have that pre-storm thing going on. You know what I mean? It looks like there's two epicenters there, which I think is odd for a hurricane. I wonder, I'd like to hear somebody talk about that.
Oh, in terms of just like how
The structure of
the
it.
structure,
Yeah, like it
it's
has,
combining
it's like
or
a
something.
figure eight. You know what I mean? Like it has two epicenters.
Well, I don't think there's two eyes.
There's only one eye.
No,
that
I,
you
only
can
one
see.
eye.
clearly, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying though, it's an odd shape for a hurricane.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Maybe just because
the
you're not used to
anatomy.
looking at it in that kind of.
Yeah, it could be the
that-
radar.
Yeah.
the radar enhancement.
The anatomy of all that stuff is.
Yeah, they picked the right color though for the center of that storm because that is deadly stuff, man.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going with
60
this.
miles per hour, and it is just gaining strength in the Gulf of Mexico, where you can imagine the winds. I mean, the seas are just so incredibly hot, record hot, as you might imagine. You know what's driving that. I don't need to tell you. Global warming, climate change, leading to this and becoming an increasing threat.
So Ian, stop, pause for a
Yeah,
second.
go ahead.
So what we're seeing here basically is you could think of that as a battery, right? That water right there in the Gulf. It's super hot water compared to what it should be. There's a ton of energy in that seawater. And that energy is literally transferring right into the atmosphere. It's making that storm
Yeah.
just get bigger and stronger and bigger and stronger. And, in one way you could be like, it would be great if it just stayed there, but the weather patterns don't do that.
That's
the
not what
problem.
happens.
That's not what happens. Like because we have our atmosphere has patterns to the way the wind blows and everything. It's going to move. It's going to hit land. That especially when they're created in the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, it doesn't really have any place to go
Yeah.
but land.
Right.
And Florida, man, it's going to be a bad state to live in. I hate to tell you this, but
Yeah, I mean, it
any
is already.
land that's like, if you draw a line straight north of where that hurricane is, and this go like this with your hand, you live anywhere there, you shouldn't, because it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
This is just the beginning of global warming, guys.
Yeah, and so there's some videos. This is like I think Yucatan Peninsula, This is like on the edge of the storm, so it's not even like the full brunt of it. And this was the 7th. So already, it's hard to tell this one, but
Yeah, they were saying they were going to have storm surges of like 12 feet,
Mm-hmm.
which is described as not survivable.
Right.
So if like you are in the path of that storm surge, get out of that path.
12 feet will rip houses out of their
Yeah.
foundations.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you'd be. Oh, and another thing I read. Did we discuss this last week? Like, you absolutely do not go into your attic
Mm-hmm.
because the water will come up underneath you, and you have nowhere to go.
Nowhere to
Right.
get out. Yeah.
Like, it's very hard.
You get trapped there.
The person actually described, even if you had a hand axe with you, and you tried to axe your way out, because of the angle, it's just a very odd position to be in to try to make a hole through wood. And it would take you quite a while to chop a hole through plywood, the plastic, the sheeting, and the, your roof material.
Yeah, although oftentimes there's a little window,
Sure.
towards the apex, like there's that little attic window.
You better hope there is if you're up in the attic.
Yeah,
Right?
you could probably bang that thing out without too much trouble. Then it's kind of small, but I think it's big enough to get a person through.
My kids think that's where the monsters get into the house. by
Yeah.
the way. Yeah. Well, that's where they do get in.
That's where the bats get in.
That's true. That is.
So this
we had
is
bats up there.
This is the aqua fence. Have you guys seen this? Where you place down, like a piece of metal on the bottom. The water basically holds the fence up. Well, I mean the
The
tension
weight of the water
the
keeps
weight of the
it-
water. Yeah, and then the tension of the.
It's very small, Ian. We can't see it.
Oh, sorry. Let me flip that.
Yeah, this worked very effectively the few times that I've seen it being used.
But Tampa's hospital is on an island, which apparently is like not much higher than sea level. So it is.
Florida's not much
pretty
higher
bad.
than sea
Yeah,
level.
in general. So it's pretty catastrophic. So yeah, obviously there's evacuation orders if people are trying to get out. If you're in Florida, just get out if you can. I know
Get out of the way.
it is the hard thing where like people who don't have the means to get out often are the ones that are most susceptible to being harmed in this.
But even but if you have the means,
right,
don't be one more person who's going to need FEMA help. At least get out of the way so that the people who can't, the resources.
Right. And we'll get into that FEMA stuff because we'll see some interesting TikToks about that. But to your video point, let's watch this video real quick. Actually, this is the old one. Let me see if I have the new one.
Let's talk more about that surge that Jim was mentioning, because the National Hurricane Center is warning that destructive storm surge will occur along parts of Florida's west coast tomorrow, and that's where we find our surge warnings. They stretch from the Everglades to Cedar Key, but also notice the potential for surge on the east coast of Florida, including Georgia and South Carolina too. You will see surge outside the cone, but the highest is expected in Tampa and Sarasota. But look at that, Naples, we could get 4 to 7 feet there. Let's focus in on the Tampa Bay area where we could see a record-setting surge over 9 feet. And I can use this simulation to show you what it will actually look like in Tampa. At 3 feet above normally dry ground, water is already life-threatening. It's too late to evacuate. Water this high can knock you off your feet, make cars float, and driving impossible. The first floor of homes and businesses are flooded. Unfortunately, the water is expected to rise even higher at 6 feet above the height of most people. Vehicles get carried away, structures start to fail. Just look at this. Anything could be in this water, sharp glass, debris, chemicals as well. The scary part is some areas could see surge values at 10 to 15 feet. And this takes us up to 9. And look what it does. At this level, the first floors of structures are completely flooded, and there are few places that it is safe when the water rises this high. We want everyone to know their evacuation zone, listen to local officials, and evacuate when ordered to do so. And Jordan, you made a great point last time. This is not just a calm water. You're going to have waves, even whitecaps on the surge inland.
It's going to be nasty. You could, trying to think that you could walk in it. Please do not think that, all right? This thing...
The only thing that survived was the jet ski, so maybe that's the move. Everyone buy a jet ski.
Yeah, but still, like it's going to be...
I mean, it's super dangerous, obviously.
It would be very hard to navigate in any kind of watercraft.
Oh, totally.
Because the wind, 100 mile an hour wind, 150 mile an hour wind,
there's going to be debris everywhere.
Yeah.
No, it's death.
Yeah,
it's unsurvivable, I think, is a good way to describe it. You just got to get out of it before the water hits.
So, Ian, the video that I saw.
Okay, go ahead.
Was they had a guy. Yeah, it's the one where they show you what would happen to a house at different categories
that we talk about along the Saffir-Simpson scale.
This is the classic one. This is from 11 years ago.
And the damage caused in those categories, kind of predictable. So let me show you. Let's start off with a Category 1 storm. And the damage here, not too bad. A couple of shingles fall off. You can have some palm fronds bending in the wind, but everything basically remains intact. Category 2, that's where you really start to feel it. Look at the windows of the house. They can be hit from debris from the outside and already start breaking in a Category 2. Your trees are significantly bent over in the wind, and the siding of the house itself will break,
pretty state of the
flapping
art.
there in the wind, adding to those eerie noises inside. Category 3. I've heard only a Category 3, but it's not only anything except really bad news. In a Category 3, you can have the door of the house blown in because the winds get so strong. You can have the roof of the house start to flap up and down in the wind because it's going to lift off those weak points, and a lot of those trees start to fall. Category 4, the damage is even worse. You get most trees falling, most of your windows breaking, most of your shingles fly away, and then Cat 5 is as high as the category scale goes. By Cat 5, no shingles remain anywhere nearby. The holes in the roof get so big that the walls of the house start to fall because they're not attached to anything anymore. There won't be any trees up in the neighborhood. That's just catastrophic damage. But again, that's just from the wind, and there are other impacts from hurricanes, and they all vary through the season. So stick with the Weather Channel to keep you safe.
Yeah. This comment is ridiculous. In a Cat 5, it's best to live in the house next door. It was unfazed. They didn't animate the house over there. Whoops.
It's all deadly serious stuff.
Yeah, but it's very, very, very scary.
And I can't help myself, Steve, but we can't have politicians lying about what's actually going on the ground.
But they are.
And that's really bad for lots of reasons. I mean, first of all, if people outside, people that aren't there, they're just straight up getting misinformation. Well, then they don't really know what's happening. Bottom line is that this is the information that I find to be the most meaningful. When you have the the governors of the affected states of the first hurricane reporting that the administration is responsive, FEMA is responsive, and they're getting everything that they're asking for. Like Ron DeSantis said that he was given everything that he asked for. That is
the local politicians,
yeah,
the mayors and the governors, even in Republican areas, are like, it's great. They're giving us everything we need. We are on the ground. We are doing everything that can. FEMA's been moving in emergency supplies before the storm hits. They're getting ready for it.
Yeah.
But then at the national level, you have people who are only interested in politicking, right?
Yeah.
Who are like Donald Trump immediately started lying. When the North Carolina governor is saying we're getting everything we need, he's saying they're unresponsive to their calls.
Yeah,
Or the Georgia governor, Kemp, like just directly contradicting what the people on the ground are saying, just making it up just for political reasons. And then who's the Georgia representative, the crazy girl? This Jewish space lasers.
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Marjorie Taylor Greene just straight up said we're controlling the weather.
Speaking of which, yes, she has. This is one of the videos.
Oh, God.
This one Jay sent me, but actually let me go to this one first because she says, yes, they can control the weather. This was only a couple days ago. It's ridiculous for anyone to lie and say that it can't be done. She's like, obviously cloud seeding is somewhat real, obviously you can do some cloud seeding, but not to that level, you dingbat.
But this is the thing that you could never get. And trust me, I've tried on Facebook for 8 years. You can't get a reasonable answer. Okay, you said that they can do that. How? Where?
Yes.
When?
Just do it.
Who developed this technology?
Yeah, like
how are they keeping it, hidden from the world that they even have it?
Because if you
how does Marjorie Taylor Greene know that they can control the
if
weather
you
when
make
nobody
that
else,
statement,
when the media doesn't know?
you have a senator making that statement, Steve, and a lot of people who
She's a
don't
representative,
dig one
not
level
a senator.
deeper will think. Wait, representative. Sorry, but she comes with gravitas. And they would think, oh, she knows inside stuff. She knows about the aliens. You know what I mean? But legit, that's what people think. But you can't ask her that because you'll never get an answer. Because there is no goddamn
There is no answer because it's not happening. It's not reality. Somebody
Right.
wrote in the comments, when are we going to start building underground? Just
Oh,
want to
yeah.
point out,
Got
in
my-
Florida, there is no underground.
Yeah.
Right? Florida homes don't have basements because you can't do it. The
right.
water table is basically right there. I mean,
I was like, it better be waterproof
Yeah.
if it's underground.
yeah, you basically but underground is underwater.
Yeah.
Basically.
When I've seen lots and lots of construction in Florida, and invariably, am I using the word correctly?
I don't know. Depends on what you say
It's
next.
always
Yeah.
sand. They're always the backhoes are moving mostly sand. Like there isn't really like clays and all that stuff, and a lot, especially around the if you're anywhere near the ocean, and that's the problem because Florida is near the ocean. A lot of it is near the ocean, so there's a lot of ground there that can't. The water table just goes right up. Like sand doesn't affect the water
Doesn't
table
keep it out.
like other soils do.
Right.
Yeah, you see the ocean right there? That's the water table.
Yeah,
That's
right,
basically what
exactly.
you're
Yeah,
looking
that's
at.
where it is.
So here's another thing that she talks about, which is her argument about global warming in general.
This earth warming and carbon is actually healthy for us. It helps us to feed people. It helps keep people alive. It helps. The earth is more green than it was years and years ago, and that's because of the earth warming. That's because of carbon.
The ignorance is astounding.
So
The
what do you
ignorance
think
is
she's
astounding.
even saying? there?
Carbon.
Well, all right. So there's a kernel of truth to what she is saying, but of
course.
course she's a complete moron. So she doesn't know how to put it into context. The plants breathe, right? They consume CO2, right? They consume CO2 and they put out oxygen. So in high CO2 environments, plants do get greener. They get more productive. But plants are adapted. They're optimized to the amount of carbon that we have. They are not evolved to take advantage of full advantage of a higher carbon content in the atmosphere. So it's not as much of a benefit as you think it is. But you have to, that of course gets offset by all of the other things that are being caused by high CO2, like the warming temperature, which causes more drought.
Yeah, it's
which is
scorched
worse.
earth.
Which is worse. So it's like there's a net negative effect. Depending on where you are.
Yeah, you have
obviously.
to it's like
but
she plucks out one thing. Yeah, okay.
Takes one thing out of context and then just make stuff up. Saying it's a good thing. We're going to be growing more.
Yeah, the
plants and more
facts
food and
are
stuff.
is that the arid land, the percentage of arid land via global warming is
They're saying
going.
forest fires are a good thing. They help other plants grow. Yes, a certain amount of forest fires is part of the ecology,
Exactly.
right?
But
It
we're
is
gonna
part of
lose-
the natural cycle. That doesn't mean more is better. That we want to,
No.
well, let's burn everything down then.
And we're going to lose our percentage of arid land because it's going to be a scorched earth situation. How are you going to grow a crop where it's 140 degrees?
Yes.
Because we don't have anything that we eat that grows in 140.
But what
degrees.
else is happening is that the optimal growing area is moving towards the poles, which is a problem because
Yes.
we kind of have organized our civilization around the current climate.
Exactly.
That's one thing people say, well, the climate is changing. That doesn't necessarily mean it's getting worse. The Earth will be fine. It's like, to some extent, that's true. The Earth will be fine.
With the people on it.
Right,
Things
but
on the
but
Earth.
we kind of built our civilization around the current status, and including building cities along the coastline. And if there's a rapid change in the climate, rapid meaning over like 100 years, then that's very fast for us to adapt to. You can't just move cities. Like you can't just say, oh, we're going to take all of these big cities that are on the coastline, we're going to move them in, 50 miles to accommodate rising sea levels. That's not a trivial thing to do. Obviously, it's impossible to some extent. And same thing with like growing lands. Like we already have our farmland. You're going to want us to now shift our farmland into other territories, other areas.
So what are we going to do? We're going to demo all the buildings and everything that's there,
right.
cut into forests that, that's what we're going to have to actually do, Steve.
Right.
That is the way that we survive, but it is going to be a it's
Well, it's going to cost trillions of dollars.
Yeah, I was just trying to say that.
The estimates by economists have done this. There's multiple different economist groups have done multiple different studies, and there's different ranges of estimates. I think we mentioned this recently on the show. The estimates range that mitigating climate change is going to cost, at the low end of the estimate range, $1.6 trillion per year starting in 2050. At the high end, $36 trillion a year per year.
Yep.
So let's assume it's probably going to be somewhere in the middle there. Again, the high end may actually be where we end up, but let's say it's in the middle. That's still going to be $20 trillion every year just to mitigate it. I think it's going to be a lot worse than that.
It's going
actually,
to be bad. And then what? Governments are going to have to do like eminent domain.
Yeah.
Hey, your neighborhood is
Eminent.
now in what?
Eminent.
Eminent?
It's not,
Imminent.
It's not
Like,
imminent.
it's not soon to happen.
Yeah, eminent.
Eminent domain.
Eminent domain.
Like
yes.
Eminence front.
I don't know.
Like Eminem.
Eminem. Yes. All right.
No.
Eminent domain. Yeah. So basically, that's actually literally a law in the U.S. I think it's in the Constitution that
The government
the
can take your
government can
house.
take land if it is for the public good. If they
Yes,
need to take it for the public good, and this is very controversial in our home state.
The Fifth Amendment.
Yeah, because like there was a famous Supreme Court case, maybe 15 years ago or something. I forget the name of it. That greatly expanded the government's eminent domain powers. And this was a Connecticut case that it was based on, essentially saying that it's not. It's like the idea of it was if we need to build a highway, like the highway's got to go through somewhere, and if I'm sorry, the highway's going through your backyard, the government will buy your property at fair market value so that they could put up a highway, which is something that everybody benefits from. It's for the public good, right? But they extended the definition of eminent domain to include, this area is quote unquote blighted. And what that means in practice is that, there's low socioeconomic status housing there. Basically, poor people live here, and we want to build a mall. Right, we want businesses to move in and pay us higher taxes. So it was, generally thought of like the ruling, especially by those towards the more libertarian end of the spectrum, as a horrific decision that greatly expanded eminent domain.
If we can trust the Google AI, that was the 1954 Berman versus Parker decision, expanded the definition of public use to include public purpose.
Though
with
that
the
was an
blighted
older
areas.
decision. This is but that was
Right.
updated then in like 2005.
2005, Kello versus City of New London.
Yes, that's
Connecticut.
it. That's it. The New London
So,
one.
but it was, expanded to allow the government to use eminent domain to seize private property for private development.
For private development. That's the, this company's going to come in there and pay us more taxes than this low rent guy. So anyway, just a little bit of an aside
Poor
there.
people can't live anywhere.
But imagine the eminent domain that's going to be happening in the context of
Yeah,
global
it's gonna be
warming.
crazy, man.
But I thought we were going to get more coastland. Isn't that?
Yeah, Trump says it's
coastline?
going to be good.
He doesn't understand that when the oceans rise, you get less coastland.
I was like, isn't that?
It just moves the coast.
I was like,
you
yeah,
don't
it kinda
get more
shrinks it.
coastland. It
But-
you just moves the coast.
But you know, like if the oceans
At some
come
point,
up,
there's
like
gonna be no coast.
Florida, for example,
only
will
coast.
become smaller. Somebody corrected my use of the word arid. You are correct. It's arable.
Is that what you were trying to say? Arable?
Yeah, whatever. I mean, look,
Hey,
this is a science show. It's
hey,
not a
leave
word
'em-
show.
Hey, yeah, it's not,
not- it's
we're
not a
not
word
big
show.
word
Don't defend
show.
yourself.
I have amazing words. I have the best words.
Best words.
I have all the words. All the best
Are
words.
you guys familiar with the Waffle House Index?
Yes,
No.
I've heard of this.
So the Waffle House Index is basically if a Waffle House in this area closes, it's probably because of inclement weather that's beyond survivable. So
Okay.
red indicates the unit is closed, yellow is limited service menu, and green is the unit is open. And apparently FEMA actually uses this index,
The Waffle House.
the
Index.
Waffle House Index, to tell people like, yeah, that's completely correct. This
Yes.
is basically, if this is red, get out. Because if Waffle House is closed,
Yeah.
there's no reason to be there.
I love that.
Yeah, which is it's pretty funny.
That is like the best use of the internet. I think. Right?
Well, sometimes there are crazy things like that are an indicator of phenomena. Like you can use people's behavior, especially because the one good thing about the market is that it's a bottom-up system that is kind of self-regulating and is responding to multiple inputs, right? So it actually generates a lot of information. And now with AI, computers, et cetera, you could use that information to predict a lot of things about what's happening in society. I know like CDC uses that kind of approach to know when like there are the incidents of diseases that are happening. You know what I mean? And now, yes, and if FEMA's using it to determine when areas are suffering socioeconomically. I'm sure there's tons of indicators. Waffle House is just like a funny one to use.
Yeah, it's a fun one, and it's also helpful, I think, to just like spread it because it's like people remember it. So it's,
Yeah, right.
It's like a fun
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, because again, companies sometimes do research. It's like the foot traffic here is going down, so we're going to pull out, and so they are measuring real things that are happening.
Oh, thanks for the super chat, Derek. Let's see, what did he say? If you had $1,000 to spend helping ensure the best future for your grandkids, where would you put it? Donate to help defeat Trump.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's an interesting way to think about it. 'Cause
I don't know that I would throw it into the bottomless pit of
Yeah,
current
the
political
Democratic
spending.
Party, or any of them.
To be honest with you, I don't know that $1,000 is going to move the needle at all.
Especially at this
Smaller races, maybe, or actually
Put solar
even
panels on
something-
your house,
That's
on
true.
your roof.
Get a
Invest,
net meter, huh? Let's not start that again. Sorry, don't start it.
Put it into a Roth IRA for them.
Buy an electric
You
vehicle.
know. Well, thank you for that, though,
Thank you
Derek.
so much.
Appreciate that.
But back to controlling the weather for a little bit. Just you had sent me this or something similar, the audio of Michio Kaku talking about this 11 years ago. Lasers and controlling the weather. Let's see
Chains
what this is.
yesterday, and now we're learning that scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right. Lasers now could one day manipulate rain and lightning. CBS This Morning contributor Michio Kaku is a physics professor at City College of New York. Professor, nice to see you. Extraordinary seeing Al Gore and Bill Clinton there together with Charlie, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, they did not get into this discussion, though. But it is fascinating. I mean, lasers, really, to change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer.
But this is experimental.
It's experimental. However, in the laboratory so far it works. When you have water vapor and you have dust particles or ice crystals, you can precipitate rain. It condenses around the seeds. These seeds can also be created by laser beams. By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning.
Go ahead.
Well,
So, I mean...
Yeah, I mean, cloud seeding, trying to get, clouds to drop rain in one location versus another, that's old tech. That I guess, technically, I guess, controlling the weather. That's not redirecting a hurricane, to where you want it to go or creating one. But, yeah, just cloud seeding, this is just a laser version of that.
Yeah, it's very, very misleading thing that he's saying, It's
no, what he was saying was fine. It was just, that's
it's just
not...
very experimental. Like,
it is experimental.
The media is kind of giving it like a, oh, wow, you're actually doing this? It's like, well, no, maybe in a lab, I don't know if they're, or maybe outside, I don't know.
And lightning will follow, you have get one of those plasma balls and you put your hands on it, like the plasma goes to where the heat of your fingers are. It's the same kind of thing. You fire a hot enough laser, that will direct lightning, but who cares? That's not the point of it, though. It's not going to really do anything.
Right.
But yeah, this is not the same thing. Just because we could seed clouds and like maybe make it rain a little bit sooner or whatever, that's not the same thing as creating or directing hurricanes or having any influence over the power of a hurricane, other than the indirect influence of global warming,
Yeah. So we could move on to maybe some FEMA camp nonsense if you want to.
Poor
break
FEMA.
your brain.
FEMA is one of those like NASA that's just in the crosshairs of conspiracy theorists. It's part of the narrative. That's it. It's always going to be part of the conspiracy narrative.
Yeah, I remember hearing about it from some right-wing people that, like friends and family, sort of, that have said forever FEMA is like a re-education camp. I was like, what are you talking about? I had no idea what that was. But anyway, with the advent of TikTok, it's much easier to hear from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So let's listen to this thing back.
3 shocking FEMA camp facts you might want to know. Now, have you seen the state of our country lately? You might want to share and pay attention to this one. Number 1, families are very likely to be separated in these camps. The government, as well as other organizations like teachers' unions, have already stated that children belong to the government and not to their parents. Now, this also allows FEMA the opportunity to use children as pawns for the good behavior of parents. This means the possibility of overthreat could be used to keep you in line.
I mean, just that alone.
Yeah, that's bullshit. That is absolute 100% horseshit. I mean, that is not the state of the law in the United States. The parents, no one owns the kids, first of all, but parents have an incredible amount of control and power over their children legally in the United States. Too much, in fact. I mean, the pendulum has swung, if anything, too far in that direction. We defer to parents. That's sort of the automatic default position. Right. And the government have the burden of making a case if they are going to deprive parents of their parental rights. It's not really ownership, it's parental rights. Mm-hmm. They have to basically prove abuse and neglect, and it's not easy to do. The idea that the government's like, we own these kids and we're just going to take them from parents, that's not going to happen. And that is not legally going to happen in this country. That is fantasy conspiracy nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. So that's step 1, apparently, in their FEMA's, evil plan.
Confiscation of our personal protection. It's a well-established fact that FEMA doesn't allow personal protection in their refugee camps.
So why would you not want guns and other weapons in a refugee camp, do you think? Yeah, I don't know. It seems like that's a potential for harm.
We saw this during Hurricane Katrina and then again during Harvey, where people entering into the centers that FEMA set up were stripped of their personal protection upon entry. It didn't matter to the people running the camp that those in the camps could not defend themselves, or that they were actually being attacked by others. Grapes and other brutality in FEMA camps. Going back to the refugee centers set up during Hurricane Harvey, we can see what the result of taking people's personal protection away. With the people unable to defend themselves, they were easy pickings for the violent characters in society. One of the reasons why personal protection is so important for self-defense is that evil people are much more likely to use violence and even ugly, brutal violence in order to get their way if you don't have it. Now, if you're into the doom and gloom and how to survive it, you might want to hit...
All right, no, screw that. Don't follow them. So that's one part of the conspiracy theory. Of course, there are so many others. So if you've heard of,
So you want these evil people to have guns? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, right? I want only FEMA to have guns and point them at it. No,
I mean,
it's just anyway. Go ahead.
Everything about that guy sucks. Everything about what he said, his attitude, like, first of all, he's making up information, or he's so utterly freaking blind that he's just repeating.
It's
nonsense.
motivated reasoning. He has his narrative, and he's just backfilling the narrative.
Thank you again for the super chat. Hello to my favorite brothers, along with Mark's brothers. Greens from Finland, the most educated and happiest country in the world, where the same bullshit prevails. Sad time. Unfortunately,
we're all suffering from
education
people.
doesn't completely cure that.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
So another one of conspiracies: no, Biden and Harris didn't spend hurricane relief FEMA
again,
funds
that's
on immigrants.
They just made up facts.
Yeah. So
it's demonstrably not true.
Right. What they're talking about, I mean, obviously, like, the government has money, therefore, if the government does anything with money, is it using it for something else as opposed to taking it away?
No,
Like,
it's not fungible. They
Right.
can't just use it for anything that they want. As Trump himself learned. Trump actually did try to take FEMA money to build his wall.
Yep.
But you can't do that.
Right.
Congress controls where the money goes. That's part of the checks and balances of our system. Congress controls the purse strings, as they say.
Exactly.
And you can't just take money from one place and use it somewhere else. There was remember the whole Iran-Contra, affair? The same thing. Like, they went to elaborate lengths to try to, sell weapons over here or whatever they were doing, then funnel that money over to some other thing to have some stealth policy to bypass the purse string control of Congress. That's what you can't just take money and use it on whatever you want. It's not how the government works.
Yeah. And
that's not how it should work.
That's not how it should work.
Yeah.
And what do you think about the owner of a fairly large social media platform saying, yes, they are literally using your tax dollars to import voters and disenfranchise you? It is happening right in front of your eyes.
He's lost his mind.
And
He's
FEMA
lost his fucking
used up his
mind.
budget, ferrying illegals into the country instead of saving American lives.
I liked him better when he said, I'm all about cars and Mars. Go back to that.
Yeah.
Go back to being about cars and Mars.
Yeah, nobody gives a shit what you have to say.
Right.
Yeah, I saw an interview.
No, he's lost his mind.
I don't even want to say it, but
I know which one you're saying, and you're talking about this one.
Oh my God.
Here we go.
Yeah,
If he loses, man, what?
So he says, if he loses, what?
Talking about Trump, right?
You're fucked, dude. I'm fucked. If he loses, I'm fucked. It does seem that way. You can't just be like, yo, yeah, I'm like, how long do you think my prison sentence is going to be? Do you think? Will I see my children? I don't know.
Because it's not like you can say, well, yeah, I maxed out to him, but, I get...
I've no plausible deniability. No, and I've been trashing Kamala nonstop.
Oh, I know!
Apparently, he does have some SEC issues, potentially, so I think that's why he's riding with Trump so hard. But
what about the night where they talk about how nobody's trying to assassinate Kamala Harris?
Yeah, don't say it. Don't. I don't want to get TikTok. No, you can. It's just like. Anyway, we disavow whatever he says because he's a dumb bastard.
The machine
I don't know if
that
he
the
says
Kamala
it
puppet
here.
represents.
Anyway, yeah, he posted about. Don't like that. What the fuck? He posted on X, which I'm not going to call it X, Twitter, that nobody's even trying to XYZ to Kamala Harris.
He said it in that interview. They were laughing.
He
about
does,
it.
yeah.
They were laughing about assassination attempts on them. Right. Like just making a joke. It was really disturbing.
Right. Aside from the fact he is also a weapons contractor, right, with the government. So it's like, that's pretty, I don't think you can be in business with the government and say those things about presidential candidates or politicians. Anyway, but I guess he's a little Teflon as well, at least.
But the
right
Republicans
now.
were very upset about Facebook maybe putting their thumb on the scale, by, cracking down on misinformation. And then, but they're happy to have Musk on X promote Trump, even like doing to the blatant extent that he instructed his engineers to artificially boost his posts.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. His own personal posts, which of course are all like pro-Trump, anti-Harris. But that's
so much.
like an undeniable thumb on the scale.
Yeah.
But they're okay with that because it's in their direction.
Of course.
He's the richest person in the world now, too.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's fun. you guys know how much CO2 you emit in America?
Absolutely.
In America, a lot.
America, a
Or
lot.
per capita is
Per capita.
pretty high.
So yeah, apparently per capita, 16.5 tons per person. And then in Saudi Arabia, it's actually more, 17.3. Australia, 13.1. Let me flip this so you can see it a little bit better.
And this
China's actually lower per person, but they have so many more people.
It's higher overall.
Then it's higher
but
overall.
it's lower per
But
person.
this is a, you look at this and you're like, the United States is seemingly doing nothing to mitigate our collective carbon footprint. We don't talk to people about, like, sure, recycling, but then you read about what recycling really is. And how it's not like a one-to-one thing. Oh, I'm putting this plastic in here. Like, most plastics can't be recycled.
Right.
Most of it's going into the land or going into the ocean. And
we're not doing nothing, but we're not doing enough.
I know, but it's not even close,
our
Steve.
total CO2 emissions have been going down.
Mm-hmm.
It's just being more than offset by developing nations. That's why the worldwide emissions are going up. But we are doing something, and it is working. It's just not fast enough. We have our electric vehicle sales are going up. Our solar's up to 9% or something. Wind is getting up to about 20%. And the recent initiatives of investing in green energy are absolutely working. But again, it's just not enough. We need to keep going, keep pushing. But if you're concerned about your personal carbon footprint, like in the studio, this is right now being powered entirely by solar power. That's one way to reduce your carbon footprint, and we use that solar power to charge our electric vehicle, which also dramatically reduces your carbon footprint.
Something's up with our. Sorry, something's flashing with our thing. I'm going to try to fix it real quick. You might lose.
And we're frozen. Is the audio still going out there?
Still going out, so you can talk. I'm going to just try to figure out what's going on with this thing.
Yeah, so there are things that you can do. Don't buy single-use plastic. Even though recycling is, depends on what you're recycling. Recycling aluminum is good. Recycling steel is good. Recycling plastic depends.
Yeah, you could start making
don't buy as
decisions
much,
like this.
yeah.
I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot, but just hear me out. You could say to yourself, I'm not going to buy the plastic gallon of milk anymore. I'm only going to buy paper, right? Like the environmental impact of those two things, they're very different.
You mean the cardboard?
Yeah, the cardboard, paper.
Yeah.
Just
or glass.
Yeah, glass. And when I buy, you buy lots of different products. Like, you can find ketchup that's in glass. You can find a lot of condiments that you want in glass, or peanut butter. Like, one of my favorite brands of peanut butter. I really like the really big Costco jars. They're awesome. I have kids. Like, we blow through peanut butter. But I buy the small cans because they're glass. You know what I mean? The smaller containers because they're made out of glass.
Glass is really a great material.
Yeah,
and
glass and aluminum, man, infinite recyclability.
They're infinitely recyclable.
Silac, why is paper the worst?
Trees, maybe?
I want to hear this because I just read something to contradict that.
It can't be worse than plastic. I can't imagine it's worse than plastic, but Silac, you might have insight.
Well, he says a lot of energy and water needed for a paper bag. All right, I get that, but I don't know. I think when you size that up next to a piece of plastic that could last, decades or more.
But we used to have glass milk jugs, and they were 100% recycled.
Yeah, we could.
The whole system. And the other thing is that it was the industry's responsibility to do the recycling.
Yeah.
So if you go back to the 1950s, the milk was delivered in glass bottles, and they took away the old glass bottles, and it was their problem. They dealt with it. You didn't have to go to the recycling center or anything.
Another thing that we can do is you could take your container, like your laundry detergent container, and go to the store and pay to get it refilled.
Yeah.
Which in some countries they do that, and it's very simple, and I would be happy to do that. But we don't have the infrastructure. We're not doing those things. We need government regulation to make, to help people achieve, a lower carbon footprint and lower use of plastic. We just don't do anything. We're not doing enough.
Yep.
Anyway,
all
right, here's the question. What is the most recycled substance in the world?
Water.
Sand. I don't know.
Water.
Air. But like like
that has to
human
actually be
recyclable-
not
Right.
environmentally recycled, but human recycled.
Aluminum.
Helium.
Steel.
Steel. Okay.
Steel.
Okay, why steel?
Because we make a shit ton of it.
And then we can how many and how often how high? How many times can you recycle steel? It just keeps
Infinitely.
going?
It's a metal.
Fine.
It's an
Okay.
element. It's steel.
Right.
There's nothing happens to it.
It's just like how much.
It's not like a
because we use it
chemical
in
that
so
breaks
much
down.
stuff,
Whatever.
yeah.
It's an element. It's like aluminum. It's like it's the same thing. It can
Yeah.
be infinitely recycled.
Well, we should. Yeah. Why don't we just make everything put it
Out
in
of steel?
No, put it in aluminum.
Well, I mean, aluminum is great. That's aluminium. For
Oh,
people
excuse
that
me,
watch the
aluminium.
Aluminium. There's a move. I mean, there are some companies that are like putting water in aluminum.
Yeah,
instead
I'm
of
seeing
plastic.
that now.
Yeah,
Somebody
liquid-
said asphalt. Hey, asphalt, man. It's the new plastic, Steve.
If Liquid Death is listening, we'll
Yeah.
accept a sponsorship.
I love those big bottles of aluminum cans of Liquid Death. I love that.
Go ahead, get a sponsorship. Death to Plastic. They're pretty
Yeah.
cool.
But the thing, plastic is cheap and light. You
Yeah,
know, and
and it works well,
it doesn't
man.
doesn't shatter when you drop
Can
it.
make it any shape
It
you
has
want.
it's very I know it has a lot of properties that are extremely good. It's just not great for the planet because for those same reasons it's difficult to recycle and it's not infinitely recyclable, and a lot of it gets into the environment, and when it does, it doesn't really biodegrade. It mostly just breaks down into smaller pieces. Then we have microplastics freaking everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere. They're in your brain now.
Yeah,
Legit.
Yeah.
So don't aluminum cans have plastic liners? They have some sort of lining,
They
right?
spray something in there, I
don't
think.
know.
I don't know. It's probably
It's a
killing
good
us.
question. Yeah, I mean,
listen, there's
who
no
knows?
perfect option, and
Yeah.
anything 8 billion
Significant
people
less
on the
would be
planet
better.
do is going to have an impact. But
True.
the goal is, again, the goal is to start to move our economy in the direction of what we call a circular economy, right? Where as much as possible, the raw material is being recycled, and the waste stream of one industry is the feed stream of another industry.
That'd be
And
wonderful, yeah.
And we're not just propping it up by constantly feeding it new virgin materials. We are, as much as possible, just recycling everything. And we're powering the whole thing with green energy, right? That's where we want to get to, with obviously minimal pollution as possible. And this is just a technological problem. But sometimes, like we have there are some options that are clearly better than other options. We just need to use those better options. But of course, better in what way? So we're saying we should be using the options that are better for the environment, that are obviously better for health, and that are better for a circular economy. That's not necessarily the same options that are better for profitability or for convenience.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of what we're going to prioritize. And the other question is, well, who gets to prioritize it?
Of course.
Right? That's sort of really the ultimate question. Should we collectively, as a society, deciding some of the bigger questions about what we should prioritize? Or should we let one group of people who have one very particular incentive have 100% control over how our society functions?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, I think that companies like McDonald's and Pepsi and Coke and all that, like they need to be responsible for the plastic and paper that they produce.
Right.
Well, that's another element. It's like who's responsible for anything. And industry is very good at externalizing costs and responsibility. Because that's what they do.
To the
That's
world.
their bottom
Yeah.
line. That's that's capitalism, which is I'm a capitalist. I think capitalist has a lot of very positive aspects to it. It generates a lot of wealth. It lifts people out of poverty better than any other system.
It's better than feudalism.
It's better than all the other options. But
Well-
but no system is perfect. Every system has it's all pluses and minuses. It's all trade-offs. But so clearly, in my opinion, the best system is a very carefully regulated and intelligently regulated capitalism.
Yeah.
And part of because unregulated, we know what happens historically, right? Is that people with money and power use their money and power to get more money and power, right? That happens until the society breaks. That happens 100% of the time throughout human history. And if we don't want that to happen, you need regulation, right? And which is basically us acting collectively to say, we're not going to do things that way. We're going to do things this better way. That's better for everybody. And that works, but it takes a lot of work to make it function.
Yeah. Not sure we'll ever get there.
It's a constant work in progress, right?
It can't take the foot off the gas.
Right.
We always have to be
another good rule of thumb is don't elect dictators.
Don't elect assholes.
Let's start with that.
Or don't listen to crazy people on TikTok. I have maybe one more FEMA thing that you guys know how we track hurricanes or can assess
satellites.
Satellites is one.
What in the world is NOAA doing here? I've never seen this type of flight pattern.
First of all.
Now, obviously, we know that it's there for the hurricane, which in less than 30 hours will become officially a Category 4 with 140 mile per hour winds. And then 12 hours from there, work its way up to 145 mile per hour winds. Now, before it hits Sarasota, Florida, they're banking on it dropping 25 miles per hour, making it a Category 3 at landfall on Wednesday, about 4 p.m., 3 p.m.
Anyway, whatever. All this is incidental. He's really talking about this. Why are they doing this flight pattern? It's they're actually flying through the storm. There's actually a video of some of these pilots on the plane flying through the hurricane.
This guy's trying to sensationalize their flight path.
Right, because the flight path that actually does readings of the hurricane as they fly through it, which is pretty badass to fly through a hurricane.
That guy and that music can go fuck itself.
Yeah,
I am so over this particular flavor of bullshit. Somebody who's trying to drum up some type of look, dude. We know what you're trying to do. Yeah. We know that you want clicks and all that, but you're an asshole.
Yeah,
and just stop, right? Yeah. I mean, come on.
It's time to stop.
It's not even provocative. Look at this flight path. I mean, what do they do? It's what?
Yeah. Well,
what?
113,000 people seem to like it.
Yeah.
So
okay.
It's provocative in a way.
Hey, Ian, did I ever say that the world isn't filled with assholes?
Yeah, that's true.
No,
it's most of the people.
What's more pathetic, the idiot that makes this video or the idiots that watch it and are like, yeah, man, you know what I mean? It's come on.
Probably the person who makes the video, I think.
Really?
I don't know. I think the person who makes the video is more
they're the instigator,
causing harm than the people being dumb. Dumb can hopefully be fixed, but evil
don't
is
you
harder.
Just get to the point, guys? I'm sure that a lot of you feel this way. Don't you just get to the point where you're enough with this?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's I see one more.
Instant
you can't even read the things Trump says. You can't even read it. You'd think you could take your time and go back. When you listen to, we're watching a video, you're stuck with the pace of the video, pretty much. Mm-hmm. With a book, it's so easy to go back a couple of sentences and reread. I can't understand what this guy's saying, but yet half the country wants to vote for him. It just utterly blows my mind. I don't understand. Why would anybody think that guy can run the country?
I don't know, charisma.
I don't know. What charisma?
No, you can't deny he doesn't have charisma.
He's provocative. But he's also annoying.
Well, yeah, but that's
but that
charismatic.
I guess
I would argue.
Really?
I mean, to the people that like him. I don't know. Anyway.
That's a complicated psychological, political question.
Right.
We're not going to get into.
And that we're not doing that today.
It is
so
very complicated.
Moving on to the next topic.
But there is, we should come up with some type of skeptical fatigue. If you're skeptically minded, certain categories of information are going to fatigue you. And maybe we should warn people about this as they're becoming a skeptic. Listen, this is great, and your brain is going to work better than it ever did. You're going to be able to, slice your way through misinformation. But my God, is inane things. They're going to drag you down.
Yeah, I've seen people get burned out. Skeptical activists, think they're going to change the world. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get burned out when you deal with that level of insanity.
It is. And we're at the front line. Hey, Steve, 20 years, baby. Well, actually, 25 years, man.
We have staying power.
We do. Hey, and that's why our wives love us.
By the way, somebody emailed us in. I don't know if you saw it, but the collective noun, rather, for a group of skeptics is a panel of skeptics.
I say that every week.
That's right. You say it every week. I think that's it. That's pretty good.
It works.
It works. All right, so let's move on to a topic that some of us may like.
Raw eggs.
Raw flour, raw eggs, raw deal. Do you guys like cookie dough?
Yeah.
So somebody sent this in. She's a microbiologist on TikTok. We've watched one of her things before. She's pretty cool. But anyway, she brings up an interesting point about that. If you've ever heard of recipes that are like, oh, you could make raw cookie dough at home and be safe.
What else is going to kill us?
If you value your kidneys, your liver, your colon, you don't want to get colon cancer, autoimmune disease, or potentially lose your life to a stupid snack on TikTok, you should watch this video.
Apparently this is blowing up. It's, cake mix mixed in with, I think, marshmallows or something like that. And then you pour that all over popcorn. Now, it is just cake mix from the box,
Raw
which apparently
egg,
has
no,
raw flour. So the raw flour exists in cake mix.
So when you eat
let's
raw
see what she
dough,
says.
raw batter, raw cake mix, you are more at risk for getting a bacterial disease from the raw flour than you are from the raw egg. We don't typically see.
So the raw flour is actually more harmful potentially than the raw egg.
Okay.
That's what they say, at least. Although there are pasteurized eggs. In America, apparently, that's not very common.
No, it's not.
Should we blast our cookie dough with radiation then? Or something?
We could irradiate
We
it.
think of raw flour as
So
being
there
a
is-
raw
You
food, nor do we typically
Radiate the flour.
So
think of it as being a
there
high-risk
is-
food. It is indeed
here's
both
what
of those things. It's also a third thing, dangerous to eat. Because flour is indeed raw, it does not undergo any sort of pathogen reduction step, meaning it harbors all kinds of nasty bacteria, namely E. coli and salmonella. And I know, I've never gotten sick, and no one I know has ever gotten sick, so it can't be that big of a deal. Unfortunately, things do continue to exist even if we don't experience them. That's why in the last 15 years, there's been a number of disease outbreaks related to raw flour, namely from people willingly ingesting raw cookie dough, cake mix, brownie batter, etc. Now, like I said at the beginning, if
this is where
colon
the
cancer
fungus
is like
takes
no
over,
big
right?
deal for you.
Yes, this is the start of.
All right,
Last
so
of
let's
Us.
talk about what she's saying. All right, so first of all, she actually kind of addresses what I was thinking, which is I haven't heard anybody dying from cookie batter of any kind, or cake batter or cookie dough. Even in the United States, where our eggs need to be refrigerated because they wash off that protective coating, the natural protective coating on the outside. It is such a low occurrence. But I will say this. Yeah, raw flour, it's a weird way to say it. I've never heard of it mentioned as raw flour. But uncooked flour, unused flour that you have in your kitchen, yeah, it's got bacteria in it, and it also has.
Isn't that how the zombie fungus from the
That's
last
what I
of
was
Us
saying.
spread?
That is exactly where it came from. Like
It's
people
flour.
were eating pancakes and they became zombies.
Yeah.
But the
I don't even remember that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because of the fungus, right? The
Oh,
fungus
yeah,
that's
the
in
fungus
there.
could yeah.
So
but cooking it apparently wasn't enough.
yeah, so
Right.
like if you were to make a starter with flour, what you need, the yeast thing, naturally occurring wild
Yes.
yeast, and that yeast is literally everywhere.
Yes.
It is in every breath you
And if you
take.
irradiated that, you
Every
couldn't.
move you make?
It wouldn't work. You couldn't have.
Yeah.
You can't kill the yeast in the.
You don't want to. There's no reason to, because it hasn't evolved in a way that's going to kill us. But you are breathing it in right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's everywhere. Mold spores, everywhere. They are everywhere. So I get what she's saying, but it's a little bit like, this is what I feel like with this content. What could I do to raise a big red, exclamation point on something that's common that I can comment with people on and gin up a little bit of controversy?
I've never looked at it though, so I don't know what the statistical risk is from consuming.
Let's ask the Jesus in my phone
we
here.
could ask the Oracle.
Chat
All right, ChatGPT.
GESUS.
Let me put this on speaker for everybody.
Oh boy.
And if you are worried about it, you could microwave it. I don't know if that would work.
Well, so
though.
she actually brings that up because there is, common, maybe she calls it a myth that heat treating your flour in your oven at home reduces bacteria, but it doesn't. Apparently, it's not.
You really want
it's
an
not
autoimmune
enough.
disease?
If you
by
do it
all
hot
means,
enough, it would.
please.
I would
Carry
think
on.
so.
But
Yeah, I mean,
think you
yeah,
have
at
the
some
right to be
point
fully
when you cook
informed
it,
on the
yeah,
risks
Here
you're
I go.
choosing
I'm
to
going
take
to
on.
do this.
All right, go ahead.
So what's our question?
Go for it.
What do you want me to ask?
How risky is raw flour in terms of infection?
Okay, how risky? Slow down, Charlie. How risky is eating raw flour as far as bacteria or getting some type of infection by yeast?
Eating raw flour can be risky because it may contain harmful bacteria like E. coli. Flour is a raw agricultural product and hasn't been treated to kill germs. Eating it raw could lead to foodborne illnesses. It's best to cook or bake
All right,
flour
stop.
before.
How common is this, though? Give me a statistic in the United States.
E. coli outbreaks linked to raw flour are relatively rare, but they do happen. For instance, in 2019, there was an outbreak of E. coli infections in the U.S. linked to raw flour, with over 20 reported cases across multiple states.
Okay, I mean, it's
So 5 years ago, there was 20 cases.
yeah. It's still statistically. Then you're
It's
okay.
rare.
You're okay. And there's really nothing you could do. You're either going to eat the raw cookie dough or you're not, right? You can't you really can't
Well,
do anything to the flour.
The thing you could do is make flourless, eggless cookie dough.
All right, there you go. That's fine.
So there you go. If anybody is interested in making, apparently you could just not oat flour, but you could blend up oats.
Oats. Oh yeah.
You can because raw oats are apparently
They're
fine to
safer?
eat. Yeah.
They don't have E. coli.
Yeah,
Why-
except Ian,
Uh-oh.
the big hubbub about certain oat manufacturers.
That's true.
Where there's bad stuff in there too, like metal and all sorts of shit.
Iron. Oh yeah.
You know,
well, a
look,
little mercury. How bad is mercury for you?
When you live in the United States, like stuff is ultra processed here, and it's a damn shame that we don't have more regulation, over that. And like
we have pretty good food regulation in this country, and we've
Relatively, yeah.
eliminated most foodborne illnesses, and they are pretty rare.
yeah, but
they still happen.
but we do eat ultra processed foods a lot.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Like
What
if
does
you go to a fast
ultra-processed
food
mean?
restaurant, the food that, it's stripped of a lot of its nutrition and everything. There's
That's not true.
High
It's
sugar
not-
content.
It's not stripped
more
of its nutrition.
calorically dense,
It's
right?
The problem with the processing is not that it's not nutritious. Our food is actually extremely
Well,
nutritious.
but look at what they do to
It has a
rice.
lot of fat and salt.
Yeah.
That's what processed food has. But if you buy processed food that doesn't have a lot of fat and salt, it's probably fine health-wise.
But for example, though, because there is details to this, like they take the germ, and the whatever the nutritional value of rice, they strip it out, right?
Well, that's the difference between white and whole wheat or brown or whatever thing. So yeah, when you all like white bread and white rice, they are stripping off the husks and the parts that do have more nutrients
And
in
fiber.
them. So so whole wheat, brown rice, brown pasta, whatever, is more nutritious.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah.
But that's different than just using a broad label like processing or ultra processed.
Okay, you're right.
or whatever.
It's good that we get more specific. Eat quinoa. Quinoa is freaking awesome.
Yeah, I love quinoa.
You could do a lot with quinoa.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But there is this movement to just demonize processed food
True.
just generically, and
Like, what does that processed mean?
Yeah, it's too vague a concept.
Well,
and it also doesn't it detracts attention from the real problem, which is you should be paying attention
To the
to
amount
like
of fat and
how
sugar and
much
salt.
fat, sugar, and salt you're eating.
Okay, but let me give you another
You know?
example. I'm not saying you're wrong, but we're talking here, right? It's a talk type show we got going on.
Apparently.
All right, so when I make bread, Steve, there's 4 ingredients. 5 sometimes I might put some malt flour in there because it colors the crust when it looks nice. Okay, bottom line is 4 ingredients. You look at the ingredients of almost any bread you're going to buy in the supermarket, and there's a lot of stuff
So
that
what?
they put in there. I know, but I'm just saying, like, why can't we
Makes it more consistent.
Because correct, and anybody listening to this, that if you live in Europe, you live in other parts of the world, right? Because I'm a U.S. centric person because I've been living here my whole life. Do you find that the products that you buy have just the ingredients that, like for example, like if you were going to buy cookies, right? My wife and I make homemade cookies all the time. You need brown sugar, white sugar, salt, vanilla, flour, chocolate chips, and sugar.
Butter.
And yes, butter. What else am I missing?
Browned butter.
When you
White
buy,
chocolate.
yeah, you could do that to give it a toffee flavor. But
That's
when you buy any kind of cookie type thing in a supermarket, it's loaded with stuff. Do we really need all that stuff?
Well, why do you think it's in there?
Yeah,
to
that's a good
preservatives.
question.
I would think
A lot of it is preservative shelf life. When you're making something at home that you're going to immediately consume, like those awesome chocolate chip cookies, shelf life is irrelevant, right?
Well, my cookies last 4 or 5 days easy.
Yeah, but that's
they
not
get
enough.
stale, too.
That's not enough. You're not gonna if you're gonna sell it on a store shelf, you want it to last a lot longer.
I think we just figured it out, Steve.
Well,
just make shit at home.
well, yeah, but whatever. But,
Sure,
that's fine. That's fine. But you
can make your own ice cream's not hard to make at home.
But
Yeah, I
whatever.
got an
Not
Ninja
everybody
Creamy for my
can or
birthday,
will
it's
do
awesome.
that or whatever. The thing is,
I will never eat a store-bought meatball.
well, that's different. Meatballs are different.
Steve's like, whoa, what are you talking about? Come
You've
on.
eaten a restaurant
Come
bought
on.
meatball,
the thing
though.
is, there is a food science, right? In the food industry, when they're coming up with something that they're going to mass produce, right? You're going to put spaghetti sauce in a jar and sell millions of units or whatever a month or something. It's different than cooking at home.
Yeah.
First of all, yes, a lot of it is shelf life.
Is any of it bad for us, though, for real?
So technically, no, because the FDA reviews every single.
But can we trust those bastards?
Yeah, every ingredient. And so this, and this is the question: where do you set your threshold for
And I'm
evidence
not,
of blah blah blah? But
I'm,
generally speaking, the FDA does a pretty good job. Maybe we could nitpick individual things here and there.
I'm not chemically ignorant. I don't think if you can't pronounce it, you shouldn't eat. Nothing like that. But
some of it also makes it possible to mass produce it.
Yeah, I get it.
So the things that are unnecessary are like coloring.
Yes,
because they're just trying to make it more appealing on the shelf.
Marketing.
It does not. It's not doing anything. And so here's an example of that, though. I've noticed a couple of years ago the brand of olives that I use.
They changed them up.
When you open up the can, instead of being like black throughout, like a black olive, it's like brown.
Yeah, or gray.
Or gray, and it looks very unappetizing. And when I first saw that, I'm like, is this an old can of olives?
Yeah.
What's going on? And then this is during the pandemic.
No food coloring.
I didn't find out for a while. I thought maybe is there a supply chain issue, because of the pandemic? And then I realized that they deliberately stopped using food coloring. This is what the olives actually look like.
And you've been programmed to think, things like maraschino, cherries, so many things that you buy. Pickles.
But they look so much better black.
I know, I get it. But even when you buy oranges, Steve, the plastic bag has orange coloring to make them look better.
I know that. I know that.
So they get it. And that sentiment right there, that whole sentiment, like it's got to look good, right?
Yeah.
That's why strawberries can sometimes taste like nothing because they don't give a shit. Big, awesome.
They were bred
red.
to look good, and then inadvertently it sacrificed some of the flavor.
But then one day, Kevin Folta sent us a bunch of his homegrown strawberries. What?
Isn't that like?
No, it's okay.
Oh, okay.
Why, you can do that.
I thought it was.
What?
It wasn't illegal.
No, I know it's not illegal.
He told us not to tell anyone because he didn't want people to hit him up for strawberries.
So it was some other Kevin. It was Kevin James.
No,
Kevin Bolta.
Kevin Bolta.
These were just some native strawberries
that he selectively bred, though. He did selectively.
Well, he was
them.
trying to find out what are the genes that convey the flavors in them. But they were very flavorful.
And I'll tell you, but just listen to this.
They
guys.
were amazing.
Listen to this. I'm sure we've said this before. We did a live stream. We ate them live. Everybody knows where we got them.
No, we didn't.
But yes, we did. We ate those on air. Yes, we did.
Oh, okay.
They can't. He sent them in an egg carton, right? Remember that? Because that was a good way to protect them. And before I took them out of the box, you can smell them.
Mm-hmm.
They were just so packed with flavor. So, this whole idea that it's like the big.
This is where GMOs come in because now we're going to be able to put the flavor back into the store varieties. So it's the same thing with you're right. It's with the varieties that you buy at the store. They have to have good shelf life. They have to be able to be shippable. They can't bruise, whatever. And some of it, yes, is superficial the way it looks. But here's something that's interesting: is that what the science show. I'm not saying we should be dyeing our olives black, but I get why they do it.
Yeah,
I
from
totally
a marketing perspective.
From a marketing perspective, and I've had to adapt to. It's like, all right, now that I know it's just that there's lack of coloring, I'm good with it. At first, I thought they were just like old olives,
right.
But now that I know that this is what they actually look like, and it's just lack of coloring, I'm totally fine with it. But there's a lot of research that shows what your subjective experience and assessment of how tasty something is affected by the color what it looks like.
I'll take the health side versus the.
But you're assuming that like the dyes have a negative health effect. But I'm just saying they're unnecessary.
Yeah.
Plus, Jay, think of your mental health when you don't eat something that looks good. So there you go.
Hey man, I get it, but like.
But the thing we absolutely can be having a very serious conversation about, again, should we let industry decide what to put in there? With the FDA looking over their shoulder, but this is consumers. Like if you want ugly food that doesn't have as much stuff in them, fine, then buy it, and then we will send that signal to the companies.
Change the market. I get that.
It does change the market, and it is happening. Like I said, my olives aren't black anymore.
It's not happening. It's Steve. That's a one little case.
It is. It's maybe not happening as much as you want it to, but there is definitely that part of the market which is catering to people who want fewer ingredients and blah blah blah.
But is this? I'm being deadly serious here.
But a lot of this stuff, the chemicals that you don't think belong there, actually reduce the risk of food contamination.
I agree.
And
I agree.
it reduces food waste.
I agree.
We waste 40% of the food that we grow.
Because it rots. Because it
So
goes bad.
reducing food waste, how do you think that's going to magically happen?
Hey, man, you're looking at me like I got all the answers.
I'm just saying, this is something you see a lot of. We've seen TikToks about this as well, where it's just like the number of ingredients is somehow a bad thing.
No, it isn't.
You've
I
got to
agree.
look at the risk versus benefit of what's actually going into there. These are being evaluated. They are there for a purpose. We could decide if that purpose is good enough. Yes, I agree that the aesthetic thing is certainly not necessary. Anything, though, that reduces food waste and improves safety is useful. The other there are also ingredients in there that improve mouthfeel.
Yeah,
which
texture and all that.
Improve
absolutely.
texture that whatever that have other effects that affect people's, or that they affect the taste, whatever.
Here's a popular one, if you remember this: the number of ingredients in a banana. You know what I mean? And look at all these. It's like, why doesn't it just say banana? Well, this is all the stuff that's in it.
That's the stuff that's in a banana. Yeah, it depends on how much you want to get into.
Yeah, but I know, but this is a little deceptive because the idea
it's
here
not deceptive. It's making a point.
It's because they are chemicals. Now you say they're not added in post, quote unquote.
Yeah, like
they're not post
aftermarket.
Exactly. Yeah, post produced.
All right, I have a couple of comments and questions. Number one, Steve,
here we go.
just for the record, though, for the record here, right?
Yeah.
Like my homemade bread is kick-ass.
It's
correct?
good. It's very good.
Right? It's fresh. You know what I'm saying?
You just had it on Friday, right? At the
birthday
party?
we did the whole
Good?
thing. So every year on it's Steve's daughter's birthday, and also my deceased father's birthday. So we celebrate these by having a big Italian meal, and that meal it always turns into people asking me to make pasta bread, homemade sauce, and meatballs. I mean, it's the big meal. It's
Pasta
the big
comma
one.
bread. Not pasta bread.
And I'll
but
put
pasta
this out
comma
there.
bread.
I have reduced my red meat consumption dramatically. I hate that this is my reality, but it is. But I probably make meatballs only about 3 times a year now, just because it's I'm trying to lower. I don't want everybody in my life to be eating food that basically is not good for you. It's very high fat, high salt, high everything. It's
fine in moderation.
It's a treat. Yeah. So I decrease the amount of times I eat red meat. And when I do, I try to eat very, very lean red meat. Like I'd rather eat a really expensive filet than have a really crappy piece of steak. And I'm eating much more fish and chicken and all that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the other thing I wanted to ask you, Steve, is do fruits and vegetables taste better when they're fresh off? Like if you ate a banana that yellowed on the tree, right? When you see them, when they pick them, they're like 100% deep green. Like a very dark
not for bananas. Just because the way bananas ripen, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter that they're
if they're on the tree or not. Yeah.
I question other fruits and vegetables though. Like they pick oranges really early, and then they orange.
There are types of fruits that ripen perfectly well off the tree.
Okay.
So those are fine. In fact, the banana that the
Cavendish.
The Cavendish banana was chosen because it ripens so slowly off the plant.
Yeah.
Because it's shippable. You can ship it around the world. The reason why we're not eating a lot of other bananas around the world is simply because they don't last long enough to ship.
Yeah. And I buy bananas.
Yeah.
You're going to just say buy less. But I go to the store, I buy bananas. They're
Fewer.
super cheap. They're just super cheap.
Yeah.
So
79 cents a
my
pound?
wife is always angry at me because I'm like throwing away the bananas. Like we freeze some because we make banana, we make banana bread, and you need like a really ripe banana to make a good banana bread, right?
Or put it in a smoothie.
Yeah, absolutely. But the bottom line is, they turn black. They get to the point you can't eat them. I chuck them. And she's always like, you didn't eat enough. I'm like, I can't eat them all.
Well, you can't eat. You got to put it. Obviously, when it turns black, it's good for banana bread. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
That's
I
know they're
them.
yucky.
I like
but
to put peanut butter on them and eat them. As a quick breakfast every once in a while.
See, my wife likes them when they're before they start to get any spots on them.
Me too. I like them with a touch of green in the stem.
Yeah, so she eats them, and then I like them when they have a few spots on them.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I got to train my kids to eat the really ripe bananas, and then we're good. We have family balance.
Right. And then we know you have to know how many bananas to buy.
Yes.
Because you don't want like 5 bananas that are all ready to eat at the same time. Because you're not going to eat 5 bananas in one day.
You need 3 batches that are in the different.
You need to buy 2 and 3 batches of bananas, and you got them every few days. I know. I used to at work, like I would buy bananas a couple of days ahead of time, and then leave them on my desk drawer, and then eat them when they were perfect.
Yeah.
But occasionally I would forget about them.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
So I stopped doing
Yeah,
that.
and the fruit flies are everywhere. Apparently, melons need to ripen on the vine, not to
Yeah.
call out watermelons, but like any of those
Oh,
don't
Ian,
ripen if you just like pick them.
Damn, there's video. I don't know. We talked about this. We actually looked it up, but I got to say it again. There's videos out there. At least I think it's all in China. It just seems like it's all in China. They have these massive like fruit farms, and you see people like handling like the most delicious looking fruit, and they have these giant watermelons. They just go up to them and they go whap like that, and they go whoosh, and they open up. And I just want to dive in.
Yeah.
Where is this place? How do I find these people and go hang out?
Apparently, Japan is like very well known for their
Is it
fruit
Japan?
production.
I would go work
that is,
there
like,
for
epic.
free for a month just to eat whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
But also, fruit in Japan is like very expensive.
Oh, crazy
Yeah, 'cause
expensive.
it's an island.
Yeah, 'cause it's an island. And
just like Hawaii.
Just like Hawaii.
And those Frankenstein ones, or maybe just the square ones, you know how they put them in a box?
them in a box, yeah.
Those are stupid expensive.
Yeah.
And then there was something else I just recently read.
Wait,
There was
did we freeze again?
there was a fruit that was like crazy expensive because they have to import everything.
Yeah, if you have to import it, it's
You
going to
can't stand bananas. What?
It's not
Bananas
for
are
everyone.
awesome.
It's not for everybody.
Well, they can't stand.
But you have to eat them. Whatever you figure out where your peak ripeness is. And
You've
that's
seen
when
the
you eat
chart.
them.
If you see the banana chart, they show you every stage of the banana. There's like 7 different
Yeah.
ones, and mine is always like it's like crazy
Frozen
green.
bananas?
You know,
I know.
green,
Fix the video.
A little less green, and then just green in the stem. That's me.
I like just beginning to get its spots.
But you get the spots, right?
You got to have the spots.
I just
Yeah,
don't
Because that's when you get that banana flavor.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Right.
I
And
get
anywhere
it.
in there until it gets mushy. You don't want it to get mushy
No.
or the black. But there's like 2 days usually where they're optimal.
When we see Kevin Folta at SciCon,
Yeah.
we got to recruit
Is he
him.
gonna be there?
Yeah, he's going to be there.
Oh,
we're
good.
we're
Awesome.
interviewing him, by the
Oh,
way.
great.
Set that up.
Great.
We need to recruit this man.
To get us
The
Gros Michel
We
bananas.
need
Yeah.
someone on his level. To
We
help us
ordered
out.
Gros Michel bananas from some
And
company.
they
And they were
weren't.
terrible.
They weren't Gros
Something
Michel.
happened. Something went wrong.
Nope, they were.
Yeah.
That's a fake.
It's fake. They probably
It's so
don't
bad.
taste as good as you're hoping.
All right,
but,
we built
you
it
know, I
up
don't know.
so much. I mean,
I
this
know.
is 10 years, man.
Ice cream bananas are probably.
Yeah, the apple
I
bananas.
tried to
Apple
grow
pie.
ice cream bananas.
Oh, they were so good, Steve. They have tartness.
I know. I had the apple
And
bananas. They're very good.
The introduction of tartness into a banana like rounds off that flavor so perfectly. Damn, if I lived in Hawaii, I would be so.
All right.
I had them every day when I was last time I was visiting Hawaii.
Let's see. What else? What other topics do we have? Nauticon 2025. We could talk about that a little
all right,
bit.
I'll tell you all about it.
Oh, wait,
Ian.
the last thing is like. The only thing I think her synopsis was like, don't follow food trends on TikTok necessarily.
Oh, I agree with
That's
that.
That's probably.
Don't
pretty
follow anything on TikTok
Yeah,
except
a lot.
us.
Except us.
Except
That's it.
us.
Yeah.
We're the only thing you should be following on TikTok. It's otherwise a vast wasteland of
guy's
toxic
Steve,
pseudoscience.
look at this guy's screen name. German sausages are the worst. W-U-R-S-D.
know.
I like
He's been in
that.
here
That was
They've been
just a
in here
pun
forever.
in the New York Times crossword puzzle.
Yes, it was.
That's funny. All right, so Nauticon, guys. For those of you who went, I don't need to tell you. For those of you who didn't, it was freaking magical. We had so much fun. Us as the people that are running everything, and our interaction with everyone that came. My experience was, it's a new conference. Didn't know what it was going to be. We all talked about like what kind of vibe we wanted to have. And how do you create that? Well, you create that by basically the content and by the person that's emceeing, and even like the hotel that you pick adds to all of that, right? The bottom line is, though, it did something that we really didn't expect the depth of what actually happened at this conference. And what happened was, 250 people came. The audience ended up, first of all, for a lot of people, it was like a Discord reunion because a lot of these people, especially, the patrons of our podcast, a lot of them know each other, had never met in person before. Very few of them did. But then we got a ton of stories of people that, walked into this group of people. I happen to be very, very happy and proud of the fact that our patrons and the people who are in our Discord, they're all great people. And they're very welcoming, and it's usually, 99% of the time I get fantastic feedback just about how cool it was. I came in, I didn't know anyone. Next thing you know, like they're people that join are in chats with all these people. And it happened at the conference. And there was one story in particular that somebody told me. So he came to the conference. He's like, I didn't know anybody. I don't know anyone. I really was on the fence on whether or not I was going to go because I just felt like I'm just going to be alone all weekend, And he just wasn't sure he wanted to do that, but he really wanted to come check us out. So comes to the conference. If you remember this guy, Steve?
Yeah.
Comes to the conference. And what happened was Brian Weck created this multi-day puzzle, right? Which we will have again at the next conference. And that puzzle,
a friend of his created the puzzle.
Yeah, he
The
and a
both
friend
of
of his.
them,
Yeah.
yeah.
So they create the puzzle, and it's complicated in the sense that you have to like pay attention to what's happening. There's a lot
We
of
drop clues throughout
Yes.
the weekend.
And there's a lot of interactivity with it. And what happened was he picks up the papers, and then he kind of like he's standing there, and next thing he knows, he's sitting down with a group of people who are all working on the puzzle. He doesn't know anyone, and he's like, the way he described it to me was like, and I just realized I sat down and I'm in a group of friends, and I'm one of the friends,
right?
And then we both got choked up because it was really because I could tell that like my sense was that he didn't have a lot of friends in his
Yeah.
life. So he comes to this conference. He meets a lot of nice people. They have all these things in common. They're doing the puzzle together. Next thing you know, like we're all singing songs. By Saturday night, we're all there, singing songs together.
I want to mention that this was not by accident because, during the pandemic, we took Nexus online. We still need to, we're still planning on having more Nexus just with online lectures. And it worked out really well because you were able to get people from around the world, both as lecturers and as attendees. It was basically a virtual conference, a virtual online conference. But people started complaining that it's like, I missed the get-togethers and all the fun aspects of being at a conference. So my idea was, where we landed was, well, let's just separate these two things. We'll do Nexus as an online conference for lectures and panel discussions, right? Content. We're just going to get you, skeptical content. You don't need to be in a physical room to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want to fly and drive people around the world to come to a physical space to do that. So we'll just do that online. And then we'll have a separate conference that's the physical meetup that will optimize not for lectures and stuff, but we'll optimize it for for in-person conference.
Yeah.
And that's how it got the name, because we have the conference with lectures, then we have this other thing that's not a conference. So what are we going to call it?
And Andrea named it.
Yeah, so we
Andrea's
landed on
Nauticon.
well, it's just Nauticon.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is that...
And it worked out exactly as we hoped.
Yeah, we hoped, because...
And even better. It was just like, we're going to do the stuff that you could only do in person. Like,
Yes.
not better done on an online
I mean, I
conference.
hate to say it this way, because we've been going to conferences for 25 years in this, science and critical thinking. Like, yeah, I love going. I mean, TAM was one of the best experiences of my life. It was fantastic. But the real fun parts and the parts that I come home with are the interactions.
Yes.
It's the dinners, it's the meetups, it's the cocktail hours, it's the meet and greets, all that stuff.
And there's the occasional outstanding lecture,
Yeah.
that you haven't seen before by somebody who's awesome. But I would be just as happy if that were online. Right? You don't need to physically
You don't
be
need to
there
be
for
there.
the
I don't need to
benefit.
sit in the audience with everyone to do
Yeah.
that. So what the point is, if you're going to spend the money to fly and go to a hotel and get together with a bunch of like-minded people,
You don't want to sit and listen to lectures.
so what we decided to do was basically just come up with 2 days of entertaining, semi-educational. Some of it was educational. Like, for example, and again, we're not talking about science. We're not talking about critical thinking. We're talking about just general fun stuff. Like, one thing that we did was the SG University, right?
Yeah.
Where each one of us...
So I think we should do again.
Yeah, we absolutely are
that was
doing that
pretty
again.
awesome.
We each one of us spent 20 minutes teaching the audience a skill set that we have. It could be
Right.
anything. So last year, what I did was I showed people how I create audio textures and environments for Bob's Haunted Mansion. I've been doing this for Bob since the very beginning. We're going back 35 years, maybe 40 years at this point. I've been when I first started doing it for Bob. So I said, here's a bunch of sounds that I collected, and then I layered them, and I showed people exactly like what I do, and I changed the volume, and I might put a little delay or echo on something or reverb or whatever, and then I crafted this Halloween graveyard environment.
Yeah.
And then Evan showed people how to create a board game.
That was cool.
Steve, you did a neurological
Yeah,
examination.
how to do a neurological exam.
Yeah.
Evans was the most surprising to me because going into it, I was a little worried,
Yeah.
I'll admit.
Yeah.
And it was also like, all right, that's probably going to be okay. But Evan really hit it out of the park.
Oh, it was fantastic.
It was fantastic. Because
Very
again,
fun.
it's just really fun to listen people talk about something quirky that they have a skill set in or they have a lot of knowledge about. And just doing a deep dive on something that's completely outside of your knowledge base or your skill set is always fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And it could be anything. That's the thing that you realize. It could be anything. It's just the intellectual exercise of this is how you systematically go through all the breaking down the components of a board game and how you manufacture one. Like you would, you never think of that.
Yeah, it is interesting because when do most people actually go through the process of making a board game? And the audience got to pick all the levers. Like it's going to be about this, and it's going to be a board, and the board's going to be shaped like that. Like all those weird decisions.
Jay, do you remember the name of the game?
Yes, it was. It had to do with it was Doctor.
There you go.
Doctor.
Yeah. So anyway, so you get what we're saying. So we come up with this thing. The feedback was amazing. The Saturday night sing along. Damn. Like I keep looking back to that as like the best time, the best 2 hours I had last year was that sing along that we did. This year, now why is it called Nauticon 2025 Skeptical Mystery Tour? Because this year the sing-along will largely be Beatles songs. We'll play other stuff, but we're going to pick like some of the best singable Beatles songs. And we have some surprises for you guys. That's the mystery.
Just end right there.
It ends right there.
Yeah, we're not going to
Hard stop. We're not going to tell you anything weird that Ian's going to do by himself up on stage.
Right.
You got to come.
Right.
So
Wait,
so
what?
anyway, yeah, we have some surprises. It's fun for us because we've all come out. Steve, as of literally 2 days ago, I came up with a doozy, man. I came up with this idea.
Doozy.
I told Ian about it. I called George. I'm like, George, here's my idea. What do you think? He's like, we're doing it. Called up Brian. Brian, what do you think?
You told them before you told me.
Well, I did because there's something that we all have.
I see
in
where
common.
I am in the pecking order here. Ian, then George, then Brian.
I don't call. I can call George at 1:15 on
You can't call me at
weekday.
1:15.
I don't call you at during the day because you don't pick up.
I have a day job. I'm sitting in front of a patient at 1:15.
But Brian and George are instantly accessible to me because what are they doing on any average afternoon? They're sitting in their home studio like doing something. So anyway, we come up with this wacky ass idea. Everybody loved it. Ian even loved it. And we're doing it, right? Just because this.
Can you say it?
No.
Secret.
This is, and that's this is.
You haven't even.
We'll tell you. We'll tell you after.
This is the one and only time I'm actually ever going to mention
I never
this.
promised to.
I'm never going to mention it again.
It'll
But
just happen.
That's right.
yeah, but the point is, it's a shitload of fun. It's off the rails fun. We went to the White Plains Hotel last year that I picked. They redid the entire hotel. Soup to nuts, like they basically do like they're every 10 year, like just start
Lock, stock, and barrel.
Yeah, they did. And from the pictures I'm
Ass's
seeing,
elbow.
it's freaking awesome.
So I'm gonna release the
tickets.
The tickets.
That's
right
the other
now,
announcement.
You have to be a patron to get them, as you can see with the unlock patron.
And in 10 seconds,
in
you
about
won't,
10
you won't have to
seconds,
be.
as soon as I update this, hopefully, and flush the cache, just to be
You're releasing
safe
it now during the live stream.
during the live
Yeah,
stream.
you can do that.
You can buy it if you are not already a patron. So they went on sale early.
We
for
have a
patrons.
VIP on Thursday night. This is May 15th. It's a Thursday. We're going to be. Our VIP will include a.
The live's not over. We have TikToks to come.
No,
Stay tuned.
No,
Yeah,
we're
stay
good.
tuned.
Yeah, don't go anywhere. I know I'm boring the hell out of you, but just bear with me. So the VIP, you're going to get lots of things this year. So first, we're going to have a meet and greet. It's going to be a lot of fun. I decided this year it's going to be in the hotel. You don't have to go anywhere or whatever. It's all going to be right there. If you're a VIP, you're going to get a special pledge pin.
A pledge pin
on your uniform. All right, so you're going to get a pin, VIP. You're going to get a seat card.
Preferred seating.
That's your preferred seating. You can put it on any seat that you want.
It's available now.
You will get a badge, a special badge.
Yep.
Right, like a conference badge with a VIP on it.
And
you'll also get
the badge says we don't need no stinking
badges, and you're going to get one of those badge stickers. You know, everybody loves stickers. I love stickers. You put them on there. It's going to be nice.
Mm-hmm.
And what else did we say we were going to give the VIP? Was there anything else, guys?
I don't know.
We have a lot of posters from last year.
Oh, no, they get first dibs on all the swag.
Yeah,
VIP seating, exclusive
swag.
VIP pin, VIP sticker badge, first dibs on SJU swag.
Okay. Then
we have some new swag this year, too.
That's true.
Also, so the board meeting comes before the VIP. The Thursday board meeting is actually is 2 hours of board gaming. We will all be there. There's going to be a certain number of tables, and we're going to just pick. We'll bring the board games,
Coins,
and it's going to be like the warm up to the conference. Like, hi, everybody's here. We're hanging out. We're going to play some games. There's a bar.
Coins.
There is a bar at the hotel that's like literally 10 feet away, and then Friday all day, 10 to 10, and 10 to 10 on Saturday. We have programming. We have nighttime events, BVZ, the sing along, the puzzle. and a bunch of, most of the stuff we do this year is going to be brand new. Like,
Yeah.
we're not going to just do a repeat of last year.
Right.
Right.
The
All right, so the
Skeptical Mystery
tickets,
Tour.
the tickets are now live for everyone. So if you're listening to this and you're not a patron and didn't already buy your tickets, go ahead and buy them now.
Olivia, are you coming?
Olivia.
Give her a minute to answer. Coins. She wants coins. Do you want a Nauticon coin, or do you just
Ooh.
want the SGU coin? What do you want?
We can do an Nauticon coin. We were talking about that
Pledge
actually. We
pin?
were talking about a year or a pin so that you could at least have it each year you come and then pin it.
The pledge pin
whatever.
comes from the movie
Animal House.
Animal House. Yeah, so you have to be old enough to have seen that movie to understand why someone screaming pledge pin at you is supposed to be funny. Anyway, guys.
Anywho's it. All right, so the next things on the agenda, I guess, are TikToks. We got through all of that, so we can move on to the tickety-talks. Is there anything else we want to...
Olivia wants a Nauticon coin, Steve. What are we going to do?
We'll think about it.
Well,
take
we
it
can do a
under
pre-order.
advisement.
I'll put out a pre-order.
Could do that.
If
But they're always... Yeah, that's fine.
we can do that. All right, Ian, let's
We'll think
not
about it.
forget that.
Okay. We shall remember for Olivia. All right. Should we move on to TikToks? Is there anything else you guys wanted to do? That's pretty much all the stuff that I had. We
Yes.
can move on to the weird TikToks.
So when I said only follow us on TikTok, everything else is trash, I was obviously being a little facetious. There are a lot of good science
good
communicators on TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
Only consume good science content on TikTok. But it is true that the vast majority of TikTok is trash. It
Yeah,
is
there's a
absolute
lot.
conspiracy mongering,
Yeah.
completely pseudoscientific.
The
I have no
algorithm
idea what I'm
does
talking
that.
about, but I'm going to spout utter nonsense anyway. And half of it, you can't tell if the person's even being serious.
The perfect metaphor literally is, you're a skeptical soldier with a sword in your hand, and you're fighting back the waves.
Yeah.
It's just never going to end.
Yeah.
So that's TikTok. But we're here deliberately because we saw what was going on, and when Ian and I were talking about it, we're like, well, let's see if Steve would want to do
One of the videos I'm not going to talk about.
Yes.
Is the perfect Poe kind of video, where the guy's like, look at this, look at the satellite images of the Earth, right? And you can't see any buildings or roads or anything.
Yep.
And now look at it at night, and you can see the lights.
That one.
Yeah. So how come you can see the lights, but you can't see the buildings? It's so brain dead that it's hard to believe that the guy's actually serious, and there's no
Right.
reason to think that he actually believes what he's saying. It's a coin toss whether this guy is a Poe or not.
Yeah.
I could get on Google Earth, and I could find something to wrap a conspiracy around 5 times a day.
Yeah.
If you want to find it, you'll find it because there's lots of stuff. Google Earth alone has lots of anomalies in it because it's not a perfect, it's not live feed of planet Earth, guys. You know what I mean? They're taking pictures and stitching them together. All that, just that right there is enough. I've seen plenty of people saying, "We found Atlantis. Look at these repeated clouds." It's yeah, we know. It's you think it's easy to stitch together satellite images of the entire Earth?
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, Ian, I get a little angry sometimes.
A little. A few little times.
So we're here for a reason. We appreciate your support, guys, and we also love having you guys join us on this adventure. Please vote correctly if you live in the United States, because we can't. I can't.
Vote.
Just
Definitely
can't.
vote.
Vote as hard as you can.
Yeah, vote as hard as you can.
As they say, vote early, vote often.
What do you say?
No, seriously, whoever you're going to vote for, get out there and vote. We're confident most of our people are going to vote thoughtfully. Just cast a thoughtful vote.
Especially down ballot, at least. You know what I mean? That also very much matters.
It really is your duty as a citizen of a democratic country to know enough to cast a thoughtful vote.
Yep.
And to do it.
And we and there will be a celebration if things go the right way.
And there will be a celebration if it doesn't, because
and you must.
It'll just be different people celebrating.
Different, or it might be us from Canada, depending.
All right, so you got your stuff you
let's
got to
do
do.
this.
Yeah.
All right. Well then.
You're gonna hang out so we can move some stuff.
Well, I don't think so because we've got the show tonight. I can come tomorrow. What time are you going to be here tomorrow?
I work full day.
How about Friday? Oh, we do a live stream Friday?
Are we doing a live stream Friday?
I think so because we invited
Andrea will be there. Yes, we gotta do it
so
Friday.
Unless you want to come tomorrow night.
I just broke
I might be able to do that.
video again. Hold on.
All right. Hey, guys, have a great day. See you at the Friday live stream and see you on the show on Saturday. And I can say this, I'll see you at Nauticon. I can't wait.
That's right. And I'm going to send, in fact, I'm going to send the email right now. I don't think there's anything else we need to put in it. It's got all the stuff. Boom. So check your email boxes, everyone.
All right. Goodbye, guys. So long.
An election live stream. I don't know.
I don't know. It'd be hard.
Maybe.
I don't know if I want to get ugly like that.
Yeah,
live,
that's risky.
If things go bad.
The thing is, unfortunately, we probably won't know who's going to win for days.
Yeah, we
and
won't
so
know.
it's not going to be.
It's going to be worse than that, Steve.
Yeah, it could be.
Because I'll try to be vague.
We'll get.
There is going to be election non-certification bullshit, and it's going to happen in multiple states, and it's going to be a goddamn train wreck. So you're right. So there is no.
Unless it's a blowout.
Yeah. Unless it's a total blowout, which we
can hope. We can hope it's a blowout in the right direction.
We'll get Jay post hangover.
I'll be just getting
video.
back from Dubai.
Oh.
I'm going into.
You need to hello.
I am doing a 12-hour skeptical seminar.
Yeah.
In 3 weeks.
That's going to be cool. I wish I was
potentially 2, right? Isn't it?
No, the other one fell through.
Oh, okay.
Maybe in the future. Yeah, they couldn't arrange the second one. So it's going to be. I might have had to do 2 12-hour seminars. I'm actually kind of happy I only have to do 1.
Yeah, that would.
I've got it like halfway written. It sounds.
This
like
is the.
It sounds like it's like 12 hours. Holy shit! But as I'm going through it, because I gave the outline and now I'm filling in all the specifics. It's actually not that much time.
Yeah.
It's like I have more material than I could cram in even to a 12-hour seminar. I'm
That's
sort
pretty
of
good, though.
picking and choosing. It's like I have a half hour to talk about logical fallacies. Which ones am I going to talk about? I can't talk about all of them. You know what I mean?
Hey, leave them wanting more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's good.
And if you want more information...
book? Oh,
look,
the book.
There you go.
Oh.
Look how thick that tome is. This is a tome.
There's so much learning in there. Book learning there is in there.
There's a lot of dense information in here.
Where's the book?
Let's see.
Oh, right.
Skeptic's Guide to Conspiracy Theories. Just one random chapter.
Wow, look at the books.
Postmodernism.
Postmodernism.
What is that?
Who knows?
Appeal to
We'll put that in
Antiquity.
there.
That's a fun one.
That's good.
Cognitive Biases and Heuristics.
Ooh.
We just bought the hardcover is officially out of print.
Mm-hmm.
It's officially done. The publisher, because what they do is, especially after the soft cover came out, they will still replenish the hardcover in bookstores. But at some point, they're like, it's not worth keeping these on the shelf anymore. They got to make space for new books,
Yeah.
So they said, all right, this is it, guys. We're either going to, they sent us like 20 books each. But they said, well, this is your last chance to buy the hardcover, and whatever you don't buy, we're going to throw out.
Mm.
So we bought them all, basically.
Yeah,
So we bought the last. It wasn't that much, like 150 of them. So we restocked on the hardcover. But that's it. There's no more. There is literally no more. We have the very last hardcovers
So
of
we got
the
them.
First edition of the Skeptic's Guide.
Yours
to the
is a
Universe.
limited edition. Yeah, in a way, it's a limited edition. Your email arrived. Excellent. Read the email, click the button, do the thing. Thank you so much. What was the... all right, so we got this going. Can you push that chair out of the way, the one to your right? Yeah, just get it out of that shot. Get out of there. All right, very good.
This in the way.
All right, actually, wait, I gotta stop recording and then start recording.
Am I doing this one?
Okay. Yes.
Do you think you should move the logo off to one side?
I mean, I could do that. I guess for this one, I could do that. I might as well, because
I'm sitting right in front of it.
I mean, on the TikTok one, I think it's okay, right? Like if you look at the screen on the bottom,
Yeah, I
that
guess
one's
so. Yeah,
fine,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know. But yeah, I agree. I could
That's
put
true.
it-
I'm looking at the full one, not the TikTok one.
Let me see the TikTok background. I could put it like up here, maybe. You know.
Maybe you could move it a little bit higher so they could actually read the Skeptic's Guide.
Can they? Is that, oh, like the one that's behind you?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't. You're not actually seeing what I'm doing. I was putting it there
Mhm.
in the corner. That's cool.
All right. Talking Head.
call it. Okay, let me just remix this. Remux, rather. Freeform.
It's also time to upgrade our background for the general discussion because it's basically just blue. So I know you have the Earth there, but it's kind of like too low to really see.
Yeah, okay. We could make maybe a moving one or something interesting, more fun in the background. I agree.
Yes, to use spaceship in the background.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, we could do that. That flies
of course,
in
it's
every
a good
once in a while. Flies in every 20 minutes, and people are like, oh, the ship. What else? All right, so which one are we starting with? All right, we're going to start with the lady. The lady.
Hello, lady.
Hello, lady. Oh, God.
George does that.
He breaks our brain with that. Hello,
lady.
Hello, lady. I don't know how he does. Yeah, it's like in the back of his throat. Hello, lady. All right, we're recording. Let me unmute it real quick. All right, here we go.
So do y'all want to hear something terrifying? So the first ever airplane was invented in 1903, right? Then how do we have world maps that go back as far as 700 BC? The Imago Mundi is a map that was created in 700 BC. And then this map was created in 1502, and it was the first world map that included the Arctic Circle. Now, this map is also the first to include the equator, the tropics. It even had Florida's coastline to a T. Again, no form of transportation for an overhead bird's eye view. There is no logistical way that in the 1500s they had the technology or the means to calculate the shorelines of every continent.
Yeah, I'll cut it maybe at the 1500s.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do kind of like her saying there's no way they had the technology.
Yeah.
Stop right there.
Perfect. All right, we're rolling.
Well, I'll help make it make sense for you. That's actually a good question. If you sort of framed it more as a question, then that would have been better. How did they make maps before we had satellites and the ability to fly planes high enough to look at coastlines and take pictures of them or whatever? That's a really interesting question. They absolutely did have the science and technology to do it. Map making, cartography is a well-developed science. There's a few things that they did. The biggest technique, though, I think to help you understand it is simply triangulation. They would, you would have basically 3 reference points, and you could measure the angles between them, and using trigonometry, you could calculate pretty accurately the distance between those points. And you could just keep doing that, even at great distances, in order to map out where the hills are and where the land is and where the coastline is. And people would do this, right? Cartographers would go around, using this surveying method, right? Surveyors still use these same techniques in order to map out coastlines and map out where the land is. And then when the compasses were, developed and in broad use, they would also use that to help orient where they were to magnetic north. So they would know that not only is that this far away, but it's in this very specific direction. And yes, you can painstakingly map out very accurately using these surveying methods, coastlines and bodies of waters and features of the land. These, of course, were extremely useful. Having a map of where things were was extremely useful to the global trade that was going on, even hundreds of years BC. We think of the ancients as more primitive than they actually were. Actually, even in ancient times, there was a global economy with goods being moved around. I mean, the Bronze Age existed, for example, because you had to bring tin from 1,000 miles over there together with copper from 1,000 miles in a different direction together to make bronze. That couldn't have, the Bronze Age could not have existed without long distance travel. Long distance travel could not have existed without maps to guide people. So maps were extremely valuable, and anything that's valuable, people are going to invest time and resources into. The other thing that cartographers would do is they would acquire local maps from a lot of different sources, and they would put them all together into world maps or regional maps, bigger maps, right? And they would use that to sort of compare them with each other to see, which ones were accurate, and to, if where they agreed, then that was more reliable. So that was their job. They would, spend their life making really highly accurate, maps for sailing, for traveling long distance, and they made lots of money selling those maps because they were extremely valuable. So look it up. Look up, ancient cartography, the mechanisms and methods used by cartographers throughout the ages. This is all very well documented. We're still using a lot of these methods today. Of course, you could also put up a satellite and just like Google map it. So we have that going for us now. But surveyors still use the triangulation and the same techniques in magnetic north. It's still used in order to, find where property lines are and things like that. But that was how they made maps back in the day. And it was a very effective method. Very interesting. The answer's out there. You just have to look for it.
Excellent. Okay.
But how did they do it, Ian?
It's like
space aliens.
Clearly, they had spaceships.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
That's
the next step is Terraria.
I'm going to freak you out by asking a question that is easily answerable.
Right.
If you look for 5 minutes on the internet.
What are they hiding from us? Yeah, that is funny. Anyway, all right, moving on to this one, which is a little goofy, this guy. So apparently, I think this is an AI voice of that guy who's like notoriously a crank.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever, that's whether that's important or not.
This is the Kennedy-Lincoln thing.
Yeah, there's the Kennedy-Lincoln thing. All right, here we go. Start recording. And here we go.
This is the largest coincidence in history. See if your history teacher can explain this. Abraham Lincoln was elected to Congress in 1846. John F. Kennedy was elected to Congress in 1946. Abraham Lincoln was elected president in 1860. John F. Kennedy was elected president in 1960. Both were particularly concerned with civil rights. Both wives lost a child while living in the White House. Both presidents were shot on a Friday. Both presidents were shot in the head. Now it gets really weird. Lincoln's secretary was named Kennedy. Kennedy's secretary was named Lincoln. Both were assassinated by Southerners. Both were succeeded by Southerners named Johnson. Andrew Johnson, who succeeded Lincoln, was born in 1808. Lyndon Johnson, who succeeded Kennedy, was born in 1908. John Wilkes Booth, who assassinated Lincoln, was born in 1839. Lee Harvey Oswald, who assassinated Kennedy, was born in 1939. Both assassins were known by their 3 names. Both names are composed of 15 letters. Now hang on to your seat. Lincoln was shot at the theater named Ford. Kennedy was shot in a car called Lincoln Made by Ford. Booth and Oswald were assassinated before their trials. And here's the kicker. A week before Lincoln was shot, he was in Monroe, Maryland. A week before Kennedy was shot, he was with Marilyn Monroe. And Lincoln was shot in a theater, and the assassin ran to a warehouse. Kennedy was shot from a warehouse, and the assassin ran to a theater.
I'll probably cut it down.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Coincidence? Yes, it is a coincidence. This Kennedy-Lincoln coincidence extravaganza thing actually was first published in January of 1964. So pretty much immediately after Kennedy was assassinated, somebody came out with this. Look at all these coincidences. Isn't this amazing? So is it amazing? Is this something that we should be surprised at? If you take any 2 big, historical events, there's going to be thousands, probably really millions of details associated with those historical events. At the very least, there's going to be thousands of ones that are obvious and big. And then if you look for correlations between those thousands or tens of thousands or whatever of individual details, you're going to find alignment. You should be surprised if you can't find any coincidences. There's a couple of ways that make a couple of things that make this seem more amazing than it is. One is the fact that there's a little bit of cheating going on too. So the people who are trying to promote the coincidences as being amazing are fudging. So, for example, John Wilkes Booth was born in 1838, not 1839. So they got the year wrong. And Marilyn Monroe died in 1962. So she couldn't have met with JFK a week before he was killed in 1963. So especially if you're willing to fudge a little bit, you could make a lot more coincidences. But even that aside, a lot of the other ones are correct. Yes, Kennedy's secretary was called Lincoln, and Lincoln's was called Kennedy. So what? But the thing is, why? So the other big thing that makes these coincidences seem more impressive than they actually are is something we call the lottery fallacy. And that is you're asking the wrong question in a way. So you could, if somebody wins a lottery where there's a 1 billion to 1 chance that that of any particular ticket winning, and you say, wow, what are the odds that guy won the lottery? And it had to be 1 billion to 1. It's like, yeah, but you're asking the wrong question. The real question is, what are the odds that anybody won the lottery? Not that this one particular person won the lottery. Yes, it's very unlikely that this particular person won the lottery, but it's very likely that somebody somewhere won the lottery. In the same way, you could ask, not what are the odds that they would have had secretaries that had the other president's name. That's not the question. The question is, what are the odds that you could find anything that seems to match between these two presidents? Why secretary? Why the secretary? Why wasn't it, I don't know, any member of their cabinet or their vice president or anyone else who worked in the 1,000 people who worked in their administration or anyone that they were related to? Why was it that their wife lost a child in the White House? Why that detail? There's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just random facts that you are scouring out of, again, thousands and thousands of potential facts and then finding alignments and then fudging a couple to make it seem more impressive than it actually is. It's basically one giant exercise in anomaly hunting and, statistically speaking, in the lottery fallacy. It's actually not that amazing when you back up and look at it in the proper context. And of course, what's the implication here? This is a jacking off, just asking questions kind of thing where you're saying, look at this, isn't it amazing? I have zero explanation for it. I'm just mystery mongering, right? I'm just anomaly hunting, trying to find things that appear superficially to be amazing and throwing out the implication that, well, something is going on. Of course, if you read the comments to that particular video, and you never know if people are being serious or not, but a lot of people saying, that's because we all live in the Matrix and it's all being scripted and written. It's like, okay, yeah, if you're going to believe in absolute abject pseudoscientific fantasy, then maybe this kind of thing is interesting. But there, of course, is no mechanism. There is no reason why the historical events are being manipulated or controlled in such a way to make this happen. That's just pure magical thinking. It's just math. This is what you would expect. It's not a big deal that you could find a bunch of alignments if you have many, many, many potential alignments to choose from. It's what we actually expect to be the case. Also, you could ask the question, well, why this is again another aspect of the lottery fallacy, why these two historical events? Somebody notices maybe a coincidence between, like Kennedy and Lincoln, and then they look for more. So it wasn't that these events were even necessarily chosen at random. For example, they were like you noticed the anomaly first, and then you try to make something out of it. So that's kind of a Texas sharpshooter fallacy. This is why, by the way, like when you do scientific research, you can't include your original observations in the data you use to test the hypothesis, because if you're just noticing a coincidence or a fluky outcome, you don't want to carry that fluky outcome forward. Anyway, this is all just we file this under innumeracy. People have a poor intuition of the law of large numbers, of statistics, whatever. It makes things that are very ordinary and predictable seem like unbelievable coincidences that require some kind of magical explanation for them. They don't.
All right, very good. Lincoln. Okay.
I remember reading about this like 40 years ago.
Yeah. I remember hearing that too. It's so very silly.
Yeah. Yeah, and like when
It's like,
you're
what are they
10,
saying, anyway?
you're like, whoa, you know. Yeah, but you think, yeah, it's just, and you could do, and this is, people have done this for many, many other things as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's also like the cold reading thing, right? You just throw things out and people find connections to their life. Yeah, because there's millions of freaking details in your life. If you're just open-ended looking for any coincidence, you'll find them.
Yeah. And what are they like saying? That it was all like orchestrated, you know, at the end of the day?
It's cosmic synchronicity, blah, 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 you know, whatever.
Yeah. All right. We are doing this one.
This fucking guy.
Another fucking guy. Spinal tap. Okay, hold on. Stand by. All right, here we go.
So I can explain why you have inflammation better than your doctor can, and you tell me which one makes sense. So your doctor is going to say that you woke up one day and your immune system just started attacking you because it didn't like you, right? Or you have a nerve issue. You have a nerve issue from your back that goes to your intestines, and that nerve signal is being diminished. It's being slowed. So what happens is now your intestines, muscles can't contract. They can't contract, they can't move waste. So waste stays in your digestive system, in your colon. Also, you don't get nutrient absorption or exchange, and this actually leads to inflammation as well. So that explains, in my mind, a more linear, logical reason for what led to your inflammatory condition, what led to your inflammation. It didn't just magically appear there one day. There was an underlying cause, a back problem, pressing on the nerve, that led to your inflammation.
Okay, I just want to say that his mic is placed the wrong way to pick up his voice. It's
In your colon.
as you can see, unless it's an Omni, and even still, it's not great. So, dummy. Anyway, moving on. All right, we're rolling.
So this is all utter nonsense, but let me tell you why. So this guy's a chiropractor, and he's pushing this straight chiropractic kind of theory that your organ health and disease and all that is dependent upon the flow of information through the spinal nerves, and you could explain everything based upon interruption of the spinal nerve function. It's utter nonsense. He starts with a straw man, like his summary of what doctors believe is the cause of autoimmune diseases is like one day magically for no reason your immune system decided it didn't like you and started to attack you. Come on, dude. Right? Come on. Or how about, well, autoimmune diseases have numerous complicated explanations. First of all, we've established through decades of research that there is a genetic predisposition. Some people are predisposed to having autoimmune diseases, and they have variations in the genes that affect their immune function, right, that are just more susceptible to having autoimmune diseases. What is an autoimmune disease? Well, your immune system attacks anything that's foreign or dying or whatever, right? So it's the cleanup crew, like for cells that have outlived their lifespan, or of anything that's invading your body. And it has a pretty elaborate system by which it recognizes self from non-self. And it's amazing that it works, to be honest with you. It's a very sophisticated system. But of course, everything can break down. Everything that works in the body cannot work in some people. And so in some people, the immune system can get confused and can confuse self with non-self and then launch an immune response against some type of tissue. So yes, there are predispositions for this to happen. Now, some people can trigger their autoimmune disease because they get an infection. And the infecting organism might have a protein on it, for example, that looks similar to a protein that your body makes. And your immune system gets activated against the invading protein and then says, oh, but it looks similar enough to this protein over here, so now we're going to start attacking this other protein, which unfortunately is a protein in your body, right? So we know, for example, that this is the cause of Guillain-Barré syndrome. You get an infection, and then 6 weeks later, your immune system attacks your nerves, the myelin on your nerves. We know that that's what's happening with Guillain-Barré syndrome. So we know that that's a possible mechanism of triggering autoimmune diseases. There may be other environmental triggers as well. If you have, your tissue has been damaged, for example, sometimes that exposes the immune system to the breakdown products of that tissue, which then causes an immune response against that tissue. So there's multiple things that could potentially cause it. Some combination of genetics and environmental triggers. So it's not some magical mystery that just suddenly happens. That's a complete straw man. What about his theory, his straight chiropractic theory, that it's a pinched nerve in your back causing your gut to slow down, and therefore it can't get nutrients and can't eliminate toxins? There's no evidence to support that whatsoever, and it doesn't even make sense when you think about it and you have some understanding of how the body actually works. So first of all, we know what happens when the autonomic nerve supply to your gastrointestinal system is interrupted, right? That does happen. It's called an autonomic neuropathy. And when that does happen, it manifests in certain ways. Not an autoimmune disease. That's not one of the ways that it manifests. It causes, for example, gastroparesis. It does slow down your stomach emptying. It can slow down your intestine. When that happens, you get constipation. You can get severe constipation if your GI motility is decreased. Your stomach may have delayed emptying, maybe even get blocked completely. So that's what happens when you interrupt the autonomic nerve, supply to your gastrointestinal system, not an autoimmune disease. His notion that it's caused by disruption in the absorption of nutrients, which is actually not disrupted by slowing down the intestinal flow, or elimination of toxins, also not something that happens, when you slow down your intestinal flow. That is what's causing autoimmune disease. There's no evidence for that. He's making that up. He's just making it up because it fits his philosophy of everything's caused by pinched nerves. So again, just utter nonsense. Now, you could also ask the question, well, if you had a pinched nerve in your back, wouldn't you feel it? Wouldn't that be painful? And the answer is yes, it's very painful to have a pinched nerve. If that nerve was being compressed to the point where it was compromising its function, it would be very painful. And also, those are kind of easy to see on imaging studies. Again, if it's compromised enough that it's not functioning or it has decreased functioning, those are not the hard things to diagnose, right? We're usually pretty good at diagnosing actual nerve damage. There's multiple ways that you can diagnose that. You could diagnose that with nerve conduction studies and EMGs. You could diagnose it anatomically. You could diagnose it with the neurological exam, and you could diagnose it clinically by the constellation of symptoms. It's not a mystery. Pinched nerves like that are compromising function are usually not subtle. But that's not this guy's philosophy, right? He's not taking a science-based approach and trying to put it all together in a coherent way. He's starting with this straight chiropractic philosophy of it's all pinched nerves and then backfilling from there with the complete absence of evidence. And then he's constructing this utter straw man about what the actual scientists are saying. I don't know if he actually believes that or not. Who cares? It's demonstrably wrong. This is not the kind of person that you should be listening to for medical advice.
Excellent.
All right.
All righty.
That fucking guy.
Fucking guy.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
Complete. The
very
straight
annoying.
chiropractors, man, they really are the worst.
Yeah.
They're the worst.
Anything to get you in the office.
Yeah. Oh, it's just a racket. It is an absolute racket.
Plus, he's got like multiple camera angles. I was like, he's got the money to just do some crazy shit. So he's clearly getting some people scammed. Whatever you want to call it. Anyway, what else do we have to do today? Chat said something else. I know I'm going to try to put the Wolfie together for next week. We'll add some things from this stream, which we kind of, there's new things coming out in this stream that should be little squares for that. Any other Any other questions?
Yeah,
Chatters, go ahead, put them in the chat while we're sitting here.
Michael's asking for more. Then ask me a question, Michael.
Yeah, Mike, give us or tag us in more videos. That's all.
Yes, I like videos where there's some scientific meat I could sink my teeth into.
Right.
Where the person's probably not a Poe, where it's not too crazy land. If it's just somebody spouting like magical beliefs, you know, what am I going to say about it? It's just making shit up, you know. I like it if there's something I could sink my teeth into, something I could educate my audience about. Like, this is how they actually made maps.
Yeah.
This is how autoimmune disease actually works. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, cool. I think that's good.
All right.
So we'll see you on Friday.
See you on Friday.
For our live stream, which should be fun with Andrea Jones-Roy.
Tonight we're going to talk about the Nobel Prizes. On the show.
Yes, they just came out. Sorry.
Yeah,
What is the
good ones this year. I like it.
Wing speed velocity of a chiropractor. That European or
African or European?
African or European. Leiden? I don't know. All right. I think that's it. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye,
Until next time,
Thanks,
keep tagging
Ian.
us. Thank you. Bye, bye. Bye, bye.